we were having with Matt Lane yesterday that, as we got into the discussion, it made me think of flatline isn't the right term, but maybe like the Kansas Plains versus the Rockies, because the Chiefs in these games seem to be the Kansas Plains, where the Texans felt more like the Rockies, up and down and highs and lows and highs and lows. And it feels like in some
rodeo.
of the...
We got to use something,
Rodeo?
Like when you're on a bucking bronco.
Sure.
Or like a bucking...
That's fine, too, but
right?
That doesn't really go along with the Kansas Plains and then on into the Rockies. I felt like that was more connected than...
They're
it's like the Kansas
Broncos,
Plains...
Which is funny, the Broncos would also be...
Would be. That's right.
Bucking.
But maybe it is something like that to where the Chiefs have that more steady Eddie approach, and I do feel like the Bills are playing like that.
Yes.
That more steady Eddie approach. So I don't think the Bills are going to come in and pee down their leg in this moment on Sunday. Maybe they will, and that would be, one, weird to see it happen on the field, but also, two, that would be cool because then the Chiefs would be heading to the Super Bowl yet again. So Kendall Gammon will hang out with Mick Schaefer. Chiefs press conferences today at 1 o'clock. It is not a fast Friday. It is an AFC Championship Friday. Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, Xavier Worthy, and Harrison Butker. What?
Kelce's actually going to talk?
For the second time this week. Well, the first time was on his podcast, but
that's my point.
Typically, we call that Kelce Player Availability Day is Wednesday when New Heights comes out. So they did not they had a whole segment dedicated to Chiefs referee controversy. So I'm like, all right, I want to listen to this part just to see what Jason's saying. And then they spent 10 seconds on it. It was 12 minutes that they put was the category of Chiefs refs, but they spent 12 seconds of Jason Kelce going, that second one, Trav, was kind of BS. That was a bad call. Come on, Trav. And Travis said, I plead the fifth on those calls. But I thought they would then get into hey, are you guys annoyed that people are talking about the Houston Texans blame the refs? I really wanted to hear one current and one ex-football player talk about when you win a game and the other team is complaining about the refs.
Yeah.
I really thought we would get that on Wednesday. We did not. It was 12 seconds of Jason Kelce just going, I disagree with that call. Let's move on. All right, very, very cool. Travis Kelce, we'll hear from him again. Karlaftis, McDuffie, Xavier Worthy, Harrison Butker, Andy Reid will be talking today. And one of the things we will hear from Andy Reid, probably, I would guess, would be a question to him, would be about the breaking news that just came down in the NFL about 20 minutes ago or so. And that is the AFC West has a new coach. There's a new coach in town to the AFC West. An oldie, but a newie for the Raiders. Pete Carroll being hired by the Las Vegas Raiders. Pete Carroll, who was at the young age of 73.
And Florio just came out with, when is Andy Reid going to retire?
Yeah, wow. Andy Reid is getting up there. Has Florio...
Pete Carroll's 74. When is Andy Reid going to retire, though?
Does Florio write about Pete Carroll getting hired and then immediately say, people in Vegas are already preparing for the idea of Pete Carroll retiring soon? Like he did about Andy Reid during the season last year. People in Kansas City are preparing for the possibility Andy Reid will retire. Well, I will tell you this. There is not a possibility that Andy Reid will retire. There is a damn certainty that Andy Reid will retire. We just don't know when that will happen. But I promise you, Andy Reid will retire at some point in his career.
I don't know. With today's technology, I think
that's a
he
great
could
point.
Really...
You know what? If you can hologram Tupac, then why can't you hologram Andy Reid there on the sideline? You know what I mean? Why can't you take what's inside of Andy Reid's mind, AI that
Futurama,
right?
Where they put it in they just put the head in the.
That's fine. That's great. Yeah, just AI that. Have it be have an ability to learn in real time, and then it would be Andy Reid. That seems
just
like
show it 1900s football plays from
constantly just taking in all that information and designing plays around it. Man, that would be pretty brilliant. The other teams would blame the refs for why they would lose the game, though. We got sad fans today, and boy, I feel like I could just look at every other fan base's Reddit from this week and put together sad fans, but I stuck just to the Houston Texans. To give you an idea of what today's sad fans will be, Sterling, Jack, Dylan. Typically, they're about 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes, 45 seconds. Today's almost 6 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, they were sad. They were sad. It was like Donovan Smith last year against the Ravens when Roquan Smith was talking and Donovan Smith in the background. He's sad. Look at his sad ass. He's sad. Oh, he's sad. It's a little bit like that. So we got sad fans today.
I'm surprised.
Why are you surprised?
I didn't think they'd be that sad.
Really?
Yeah, I thought Texans fans would be more just, all right, we were injured. We get it. We'll be back next year, but we have a good building block. We have Will Anderson, C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins. Like, Tank Dell will be back next year. Like, I thought they'd be pretty enthused about this year.
Well, let me tell you this. When the players are blaming the refs, what the hell you think the fans are doing?
Oh.
I mean, when the players and
blaming
coach...
the players, blaming the refs, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the players and coach say it's the ref's fault. Now, mind you, this is almost 6 minutes, and there's only a few ref comments in there, just so we know. So
the
that's
only
coming
time
up
I blamed
into the
refs
noon hour.
Was when Keon Dooling yammed that ball in Lawrence.
Jack, what do you think about that one, but also Phil Pressey? Remember when he was murdered by Thomas Robinson? But Jack and Dylan are used to this because you guys get all the calls, and the only reason you guys win in Allen Fieldhouse is because of the referees, right?
Yeah, it has to be, right?
Boy, you guys have. How about you? You guys, Kansas fans have years of built-in leather skin.
Yeah.
And armor.
It's the Missouri fans who are like
battling the ref conversation. I mean, you guys have been dealing with this for years. Now it has seeped over into your Chiefs fandom. God, that's got to be annoying.
You know, it's funny, for the majority of my life, amongst my friends, the talk of, the officials, you're only good because of that, it was just Kansas basketball for the majority of my life. So, yeah, you're exactly right. When the Chiefs stuff started happening, I'm like, oh, for the newbies here, now you kind of understand what it's all about, right?
But here's the thing. I get it, and I have changed my perspective. The Chiefs are not winning because of the refs, and also KU is not winning because of the refs. Let's be honest, it's the refs in Allen Fieldhouse. That's all it is. I'm just joking. No, but I do think it's funny, like, Nate battling that and putting together all the numbers about Big 12 and home and road calls. And like, look, there is no, this is not different than any other arena. It's like, shut up, Nate, with your stupid numbers. I watched the game. I have anecdotal things that I can point to.
Keon Dooling dunk that ball and get a charge call.
Did you see Phil Pressey? It was a guillotine. Like, he lost his head there. They had to sew it back on. That's why they lost in overtime.
It was Marie Antoinette style.
Right. They lost in overtime because they were sewing his head back on while the game was being played. People don't remember the sewing on the sideline of putting the head back on. People don't remember that. So
not the 20-point lead. Not one bit. Not a second half blown.
What are you talking about?
20 points. I'm not remembering this.
Doesn't ring a bell, right?
There's one play that I remember. That whole game was just one play. I don't know what you're talking about.
Not getting a shot off at the end of overtime either.
I don't remember that. I was paying attention to the head being sewed back on. Also, we
Christian
know
Moody.
Plus, we also know for a fact he would have hit the free throws. I mean, this we know for a fact. It wouldn't have been anything like Moody at Mizzou Arena. He wouldn't have been. There's no pressure whatsoever there at Allen Fieldhouse to win the game and into regulation with the fans going crazy. We know for a fact he would have 100% hit the free throws, just as we know the Ravens would have gone for two and made the 2-point conversion, just as they did against the Bills, and that's why it's Chiefs-Ravens 08. So there we go. All right, let's get into the Kansas. We also have cuts today. We'll give our predictions, but we'll see how much time we have for that. But should be a fun, sad fans. That'll be about 12:45, 12:50, because it's a little longer today. All right, 913-912-4810. Pete Carroll. We'll get into a lot of Bill stuff, but I did want to at least present this. I don't know how successful Pete Carroll's going to be in Vegas, but Pete Carroll feels like the Alex Smith quarterback version of a head coach for the Raiders. They need stability in their franchise. He's not going to get them a Super Bowl because he's a little older. You know what he is. They will be a better team immediately. They'll be more organized. They will be better in execution. They'll be better coached. But there's also sort of a ceiling they're getting to, and he can hand it over to maybe the next guy in line with Brady stabilizing, the overall franchise, whoever the GM, all of that stuff, at that time when Pete Carroll steps down, whoever the GM would be, and then whatever the team looks like. I think this is the Chiefs not getting Andy Reid because it's a different age.
Oh, yeah.
But it's getting Alex Smith and saying, quarterback stability, we needed it, and we can build around this. I think that's what they're doing in Vegas. You can go and get the hot new commodity, or you can go and get a guy, you know what he's going to bring to the table, because your team needs solid ground and solid footing from a cultural standpoint around the building, and Brady can't institute it himself. He's one of the owners.
Yeah, I think this is huge. Oh, whoa.
What's huge? Is it
Sean McDermott? Breaking news as of 13 minutes ago, Taylor Rapp will not play against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay, so Taylor Rapp is out. That's a wrap on Taylor. Sorry, that was dumb.
Another one?
That was the ending.
That was just
sound the same.
No, we got it. It's parentheses. You know, you can't put the first parentheses and not have the end one, because then we wouldn't know what's parenthetical, or if we just had
makes sense.
To Jack's defense, I mean, we hit or miss that it does have a bookend. So
yeah, but that's part of the whole.
That's the mystique behind it, Dylan. That's the whole
charm of the
right,
show.
right.
That's the charm here. So
like it's always sunny. That's the charm.
That's the charm.
That's the charm.
So let's put a bow on Pete Carroll, which I thought there was a bow on his career, but he is back. The AFC West now has 4 coaches that have been to 20 conference championship games, that have made 8 Super Bowl appearances, that have won 5 Super Bowls and 2 national championships amongst the 4 coaches in the AFC West.
Is this the best?
Yes.
I think it has to be, right?
It's the best coach division maybe that we've seen. Somebody would have to go back in time of historically and look at the divisions of the one, because there isn't a slouch. Right?
No.
There's not a coach that it's like,
well,
yeah,
Sean
but
Peyton. You know, thank God he's there, so we get 2 easy wins.
Well,
Guys,
you're right. Sean Payton would be the clear-cut 4, right?
And as we know this year, the Broncos were 2 easy wins. But Sean Payton has a Super Bowl. Jim Harbaugh would be the least accomplished of the teams. He went to 1 Super Bowl, but he won a national championship. But we're talking about the NFL. Sean Payton won a Super Bowl. The least accomplished coach would be Jim Harbaugh, who's been deep in playoffs, who's been to a Super Bowl, who won a national championship in college. Like, somebody would have to have historical reference to this. Maybe Curtis. Get on it, Curtis. But I can't imagine if it's not. I can't imagine it's not one of the best, if not the best, divisional coached in the NFL that we've ever seen.
He is the biggest slouch, which is Harbaugh.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh
is
the worst coach. Jim Harbaugh is the worst coach in the AFC West.
Is 52-25 in his NFL career for his .673 winning percentage. He's 5-4 in the playoffs.
And the only reason he's the slouch is because he couldn't beat his brother in the Super Bowl in February of 2013. That's because he couldn't beat the Ravens. That if they win that game, we're talking about who's the slouch, Peyton. I mean, Pete Carroll's been to 2. He didn't hand it off. Oddly enough, Pete Carroll not handing the ball off. That's the irony of that whole thing, because he likes to do that. He wouldn't let Russ cook when he was there in Seattle. Jack, what do you think of it?
I absolutely love this hire for Vegas, because you're exactly right. They need stability. They haven't had stability in a long, long time. And, I think some people could look at it and say, he's 73 years old. It's a 3-year deal, or 72, 73. The Raiders are not a year away or 2 years away. They need to rebuild a little bit. But I look at it as, why not have Pete Carroll here for the rebuild, kind of take a page out of what Sean Payton did. They were bad year 1, although they went out and got Russell Wilson and tried to win. But they were really bad year 1, more competitive year 2. I think we're in a playoff hunt until the final 2 weeks of the season. And then this year, they were pretty damn good. That was a good Broncos team. And I think for the Raiders, you look at that and say, Sean Payton had a year out of football, then came back and rebuilt the Broncos to what they are now. And the Raiders, they're competing with 3 really good teams in the division. And for those others that said, well, I would have gone with a younger coach to try to build things up so we could stay around for a while, they just tried that.
Yeah.
With Antonio Pierce, it didn't work out. So if you're trying to go through a rebuild, you've got a high draft pick, you're trying to build around Brock Bowers, you might try to flip Max Crosby to get some, draft picks or younger players in return.
6th rounder, you think?
Yeah, for
Chief
sure.
6th rounder?
Yeah, that'd make a lot of sense.
That'd be great. Yeah.
And so I do like this move for the Raiders, because they've been so erratic since going to Vegas. I think Pete Carroll brings in that stability. No, the expectation should not be you need to be winning in year 1, or maybe not even year 2, but they have to do what the Raiders haven't done for a long time now, which is steady progression each and every year. Denver and the Chargers now have done that. The Raiders are the only ones that have it in the West.
So Max Crosby, when he was on the NFL Network doing the stuff over the weekend for the divisional round games, they had a sit down with him. It might have been Rich Eisen, I'm not sure, but they talked to him and said, "What do you want in a coach?" And he goes, I mean, I'm not going to say like a name or what I wanted to coach. He said, I just want stability. And he said something that I had to go back and look because I'm like, wow, I didn't realize this was the case. This will be his 7th year in the NFL, Max Crosby. Pete Carroll is his 4th coach. Not even counting interim coaches.
Oh, because I was going to count
not counting
Bisaccia,
No, Gruden, McDaniels, Pierce, Carroll. It'll be his 4th coach in 7 years, Max Crosby in the NFL.
Man.
So that's to, what I was talking about with Alex Smith, what Jack's talking about, and just stability of somebody that, okay, let's go get a younger guy. Right, Josh McDaniels, you tried that. Now, that was sort of a retread, but hey, the second time around, he's going to be better than from learning. Okay, let's try a younger, fresh, energetic, in-your-face, tough, hard-nosed Raiders football players love playing for him, Antonio Pierce. Tried it. Bottomed out. 4-13. So maybe go the route with Tom Brady getting there and saying, man, I know what a franchise that's successful looks like. And it ain't this now.
When he
so what do you think, Sterling?
Let go from Seattle, the parting of ways, everyone was befuddled. They were confused. When a head coach gets let go and the immediate reaction is not, oh, finally, it's, oh my gosh, that's a great head coach hitting the open market. When you bring in that guy, that's the right move. It can energize your fan base, right? Because you needed something. Because they did like Antonio Pierce. The Raiders fans loved Antonio Pierce until the end of this year, clearly. But he had a lot of their respect, and all of the players still enjoyed Antonio Pierce, right? It wasn't Mayo in New England. It felt like Max Crosby and all those guys, they really liked playing for Pierce. The results just weren't there. But I think your description of the Alex Smith of head coaches is perfect. That is exactly what the Raiders need.
We'll go to break. We'll come.
Yeah, I finally gave you credit, but
Yay.
No, but
helmet sticker.
That almost the stickers are ordered, by the way.
Oh, really? We're gonna do it? Yes, we're doing it. We're doing
the stickers have been ordered. I have no idea what they're gonna look like, but they've been ordered.
That's fine.
But yeah, no, I just this is a good move for an organization that traditionally does not make good moves.
Yeah. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. It's not exactly the Andy Reid in Philadelphia. But, I mean, after the 12-4 season and losing in the wild card to the Rams, they finished 7-10, 9-8, 9-8, and then that's when they moved on from Pete Carroll. So maybe they felt like it was getting stale. It's time to get the next guy in here, whoever that might be, because the last 3 years of 25 and 26 after winning 11, winning 12, and then being a 500 team the next 3 years. Not Andy Reid, where it sort of bottomed out at the end, where it was like it just needs a clean break. But now, a year off football and now back, sort of like Sean Payton did. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get into the Chiefs and Bills. The question: who has the biggest impact for the Chiefs that did not play in the first go around, and or same, different. We'll see. Who would you want to have the biggest impact? Maybe you think somebody's going to have the impact, but you would prefer if somebody else would have the biggest impact for the Chiefs winning the game. We'll do that coming up next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Jack Johnson hanging out with us, Matt Derrick at 11 o'clock. Chiefs Digest 41 is the Mike podcast. Kendall Gammons at noon. Mick Schaefer, noon 30. Sad fans right before 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, Chiefs press conferences. Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, Xavier Worthy, Harrison Butker, and the cuts before the show is over. It's a packed show today.
I wonder who's on cuts this week.
Probably you.
Got to be a Jason.
You're the marquee of cuts typically every week. You're the main one on the marquee.
The one time I'm the MVP.
That's right. There you go. Injury report, if people care. We said at the in the first segment, Taylor Rapp has been ruled out of this game, so that is their starting safety. He played 100% of the snaps in Week 11, so he is out of the game. Matt Milano has been limited the last 2 days. He left the game early against the Ravens, was not out there for the final drive. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's been limited the last 2 days. Teron Johnson was a full participant on Wednesday with his shoulder injury. He was downgraded to limited yesterday. I don't think that is anything other than Wednesday install. You're out there for the whole thing. Thursday, you could participate in some things. You're good. But we do have to put you as limited if you don't participate as full. I would guess he'd be a full participant today, especially since he re-entered the game. He came back and finished the game against the Ravens. Teron Johnson did. So just a couple of players there. Everybody else full participant. Christian Benford, I should say, still in concussion protocol. Limited the last 2 days, but looks like he's going to be out there and playing. But Taylor Rapp is out, so it may be their second-round safety from Utah, Cole Bishop, that may be out there playing along with Damar Hamlin at the safety spot for the Buffalo Bills. Like I said, the reason I liked the Buffalo Bills matchup better than the Ravens is because the Bills' defense is bend but don't break, and they are leaky. And now you take away one of their better players on the back end, and I think they become even more leaky and more susceptible to a big play, especially if they're going to play as much man-to-man that they played against the Chiefs the first go-around with Hollywood Brown out there, which leads us to our next question. Hollywood, Jalen, Amenahue. You guys can throw in left tackle if you want to, the different left tackle as opposed to the first go-around when it was Wanya Morris, because that is an impact.
Butker?
Well, but
he was gone for Week 11, correct?
Yeah, it was Schrader.
Yeah, but it was Schrader.
Schrader,
But
yeah.
I think they were fine though. I mean, well, Schrader only kicked one game, right? And then he hurt his hamstring on the game-winning kick.
Could have been right.
So it might have been right.
Yeah. Schrader was Buffalo and Carolina, I think.
Was it? And so he was only needed for then the Carolina game-winning kick because they scored 21 points against. Was it?
Why?
20?
Fine, I'll just look up the box score.
Yeah, but we don't need to add in Butker because they've won game. It's not like they missed 3 field goals
I know.
in that
I
game.
just said a guy who's back.
Okay. Well, it was Schrader. I already looked it up. It's right here. That's why I have this handy-dandy game
Then
book.
why were you looking perplexed at us?
Because I didn't want to look down to my left. The JFK files are being released, so I didn't want to go back into the left right now, okay? We'll see. So, who has the biggest impact? We're not adding Butker in here, okay? They didn't miss
That's
kicks.
fine.
You guys can add in the tackle if you want to, but who didn't play in the game, Jalen Watson, Amenahue, Hollywood Brown, are the main ones that people are talking about. I want to approach it from two different perspectives. Who has the biggest impact, you think? But that doesn't necessarily mean that's who you would want to have the biggest impact. So I'll go first. There are 2 different players here for me. 2 different players that I land on. Who do I think has the biggest impact? Now with Taylor Rapp out of the game, I was already leaning this way, and I'm going to lean that way even more, is Hollywood Brown. I think they are going to pay close attention to Xavier Worthy in all the different ways the Chiefs have been getting him involved. They went man-to-man to limit Kelce. That's why he only had a couple of targets. They had that deep shot down the field to Xavier Worthy where he didn't get his second foot in bounds. I think there's going to be a focus on Xavier and Kelce, and if they want to play man-to-man, then I think Hollywood Brown might have a couple of big plays in store. Some second level. He's a hell of a route runner. Like, he is not just a straight line runner. He's not MVS. He's a really good route runner. So that can mean the intermediate second level. It can mean deep shots as well. So I think the Chiefs are going to want to play off of, hey, we know you guys have trouble stopping the run. You guys may want to overreact to us trying to run with Kareem Hunt.
Sure.
You guys are bend but don't break. You'll give up yards in the run. We're going to run some play action, and we're going to hit Hollywood Brown. That's who I think will have the biggest impact. Who I want to have the biggest impact is Charles Omenihu. Because if Omenihu has a big impact, then that means he's getting after Josh Allen. He's pressuring. He's helping out with setting the edge, stopping James Cook, stopping Ray Davis. He's having strip sack fumble like he's had these consecutive games with that. Certainly Jalen Watson would be a big one as well, because that means he's, when they've got Kincaid and Coleman returning and Amari Cooper out there, and if he's playing a phenomenal game and he's there with McDuffie, that makes a difference. But the Chiefs have not sacked Josh Allen the last 2 times they have played him. In fact, the last person to get a sack on Josh Allen was Charles Omenihu, but that was in the regular season of last year's game.
Wow.
So they didn't get him in the playoffs, and they didn't get him this year. Now, Omenihu didn't play this year. He played in the playoffs before he got injured in the Baltimore game, but still, it's back-to-back games. If Omenihu is the biggest impactful player of Hollywood, Watson, and Omenihu, I think that is great news for the Chiefs. Do you have 2 different players, or it's the same one for you?
Similar. I think Hollywood will have a good game. I don't think it's the biggest impact necessarily, but I think he's going to have a good game because of the man-to-man coverage. Basically, for the Bills, you choose, you pick your poison.
Yeah.
If you play zone, Kelsey, Gray, they feast.
Yep.
If you play man, Hollywood and Xavier probably going to feast. So it just all depends on what they want to do. They've primarily played zone all year long, except for when they play the Chiefs and they play man. So we'll see which way they go about it this time around. I'm not worried, though. I just think the breakdown is going to be based more or less what the Bills throw at Kansas City. I think defensively, one of those 2 guys is who I'm going to go with, and I'm going to go more with Watson.
Okay.
I really do think Omenihu has a strong case to be made because I don't need to talk about it again, but what he does for Tershawn Wharton and Karlaftis and Chris Jones and allowing one-on-ones. But again, I told you, I think Turk Wharton's the biggest beneficiary.
Beneficiary. I got you.
Thank you. Of
there is a benefactory. It's just the Bena company.
Yeah, it's just
they
make factor stuff.
Right,
factor
but
food.
it's like the Bena company has a benefactory.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But I think Jalen Watson, though, to me, because of the amount of legit wide receiver 2s, that's what the Chiefs thought they had last year with the receivers. The difference is the Bills actually did it this year.
Yeah.
If I had my druthers, I want McDuffie to travel with Khalil Shakur. I don't want Christian Roland Wallace. I don't want Shamari Connor going up against Khalil in the slot. So if you can move McDuffie to the slot at times, that allows Watson to really lock down the outside of a Mac Hollins, Amari Cooper, Keon Coleman, and maybe even a faster guy like a Curtis Samuel.
Yeah. Jack?
I'm between Hollywood Brown and Jalen Watson, mainly because I think a receiver just has a better chance to have a big-time performance. I mean, Jalen Watson could do his job, and you never hear his name the entire game. But I think when I look at that Week 11 matchup, there was such a focus on throwing at Najee Johnson in the game, and I think every Chiefs fan knew going into that matchup that was going to be the target. Like, it was almost like he was walking around the field with a giant red target or giant red X on his back, where no matter who he was on, even if it was good coverage, it was, we're throwing the 50-50 ball because we feel like our guy can get the ball over him. And if you add Jalen Watson into this conversation, I don't think you treat him the same, even coming off the injury, because of how he looked against Houston. I don't think Josh Allen would be as reckless to say, all right, it's Amari Cooper versus Jalen Watson on a 3rd and 10, and it might be one-on-one. He might have a step, but it's different than throwing at Najee Johnson. It's no disrespect to Najee Johnson. Jalen Watson's just a better cornerback than he is. But I also feel like after not having a catch last week, Hollywood Brown might have a really good opportunity to go up against now a little bit of a depleted Buffalo secondary and have a big-time game, because I feel like one of either Hollywood Brown or DeAndre Hopkins is going to have that true defining game in a Chiefs uniform. And since Hopkins has been pretty quiet now for the last handful of games, I'd probably side with Hollywood Brown being able to bounce back from what he did last week.
So Najee Johnson, the numbers that are there in that game against Buffalo, 12 targets, 9 receptions, 103 yards and a touchdown, and a minuscule 128.1 quarterback rating against. So, yeah, the next highest person that was targeted was Shamari Connor. He was targeted 6 times, gave up 5 receptions for 55 yards. The only time he was targeted and didn't give up a reception, not to take anything away from Shamari Connor, it was the Josh Allen 4th down throw right to Shamari Connor. Yeah. That was the one time that he was targeted and did not give up a reception. Now, the quarterback rating against, because he had an interception, drops to 65 as opposed to 128. But 5 receptions, 55 yards outside of the throw right to Shamari, and 4 missed tackles. Like, Jalen Watson coming back is huge. Shamari Connor playing better would be huge because those 4 missed tackles were big time. I mean, it gave up a 3rd and 6, and he missed the tackle on Curtis Samuel, and it would have been a 4th down field goal. He missed the tackle. Curtis Samuel picks up another 8 yards, and he picks up the first down because he missed the tackle like 5 yards short of the first down. Curtis Samuel's good, so it's not like Shamari Connor missed a tackle on Caliendo catching the ball, right? Because Caliendo had his catch in that game as well. Connor just simply has to play better. But if you exchange Jalen Watson for Najee Johnson, I totally get why people would land on Jalen Watson because that would be absolutely huge. They just can't sack Josh Allen. It's just so difficult to do, and that offensive line is so good. And maybe because the offensive line is so good that Amenahue can have an impact, but that impact may not even be as impactful as if the offensive line is that good as Jalen Watson covering. Like Amenahue's impact might be because Jalen Watson is out there and it's coverage sack. But somebody's got to bring Josh Allen down. If they're going to sack him, somebody has to get there. They pressured him a number of times in the previous game, but they couldn't bring him down. I mean, the last 2 games are pressuring him, but they can't sack him. And he is phenomenal at not getting sacked, okay? So this is not, they're not sacking Joe Burrow or Stafford who just holds on to the football or, name any other quarterback that just holds, like C.J. Stroud, that likes to hold on to the football a long time and not escape very often, not really throw it away very often, runs out of bounds short of the line of scrimmage, which counts as a sack. So he did that. So, I mean, it's like we've seen this Chiefs team do that against quarterbacks that don't necessarily get rid of the football. Josh Allen is not that. And so it's not a surprise that he has not been sacked the last 2 times the Chiefs have played him.
I'm trying to see how many times. I think it's 14 this year. Josh Allen, they accounted for 17 this season, how many times he's been sacked. Just incredible. He is very Patrick Mahomes-esque in regards.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's phenomenal. It's a great comparison. These are 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL at eliminating pressures, keeping them from turning them into sacks.
I have Patrick as 39.
You have him as the 39th best quarterback in the league? Man, I just don't agree with that. I know that, it might
36.
be a hot take.
I don't know how they're – because sacks can sometimes be slightly differentiated on PFF versus other sites versus half sacks, full. I don't know how they're breaking it down, but Mahomes has at least double the amount of times he's been sacked this year versus – Josh Allen, which is, again, goes to show offensive lines, obviously, but also how good Josh Allen has been this year avoiding sacks.
Yeah, Josh Allen is number 1 in the NFL at 8.7% of pressures turn into a sack. Patrick Mahomes is at 17.2% of pressures, which puts him at 9th highest. So it's Josh Allen 8.7, Jordan Love 9.3, Lamar 11.2, Bo 13.4, Bo Nix. Not Bo Jackson. Brock Purdy, 15.5. Then Jared Goff, 15.9. Kyler Murray, 16.7. Bryce Young, that's just because they dive over him, along with Kyler Murray, too. And then Patrick Mahomes, 17.2. This might be one of the highest numbers of his career in pressure to sack.
For Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not been great for him. But for Josh, what's so impressive, the names he's with on the fewest amount of times he's been sacked. Jacoby Brissett, who played in how many games?
Yeah.
Who has 18, one more sack than him. Joe Flacco, who's played.
Flacco. Don't yell at me, Dylan.
Spencer Rattler has been sacked more time. Like, just the names on this list of people who've been sacked more than Josh is all part-time guys. It's crazy.
And to give you an idea of the pressure to sack percentage this year for Patrick Mahomes being 9th best in the NFL at 17.2, his previous high was in 2021, or previous worst, I should say, was in 2021, and that was 13.4%. He's increased it by, almost 4 percentage points of being sacked more often from pressure. Now, some of that could be attributed to he didn't have a chance to escape a sack if it was an unblocked rusher or just got right by Kingsley or Wanya or Joe Tooney in the game against the Houston Texans with Will Anderson beating him pretty quickly lower around the edge. I wonder how many sacks this year, if you take away the 0% chance for Patrick Mahomes to get away from that sack, what that percentage would be if it's not an immediate pressure and he just has to hold the ball and bottle up and go into the fetal position and get laid down to the ground. We'll take a timeout, come back, more Zone next. he had to put together, and he's been working on it for a few weeks. So every single kid in the 3rd grade had to write a speech about who they admire. And my son chose Sterling Holmes. No, he did not.
He chose Dylan. Let's be real.
Yeah, he would. That would have been better. But he comes to me and he's like, Daddy, we all get to choose a person. And he's like, we choose tomorrow. And he's like, we can't repeat. If somebody picks one, we don't get to do that one. And he's like, this is the person I really want to do the speech about. So I'm nervous that I won't get to do it. And so I'm not even going to say who the person was. This was no influence from me whatsoever. But little man and his speech with the person he admires in the world. Here is Everett.
Hello, I'm Everett. Jackie Robinson was a difference maker because he was the first African American to play professional baseball. I admire Jackie Robinson because he broke the color barrier in baseball. Although he faced the difficulty of not getting on teams because of the color of his skin, he kept playing sports. One thing you should do to be like Jackie Robinson is be brave. I'll leave you with this quote from Jackie Robinson: "A life is not important except the impact it has on other lives."
He was so nervous somebody was going to pick Jackie Robinson before him, and they did not. So we went up there. We don't have a Jackie Robinson jersey. The closest we have is a Monarchs Buck O'Neill. So he wore his Monarchs Buck O'Neill stuff.
I was actually wondering if he was going to do Buck O'Neill. I was going to say, is it going to be Buck? Yeah.
He doesn't know as much about Buck as he does Jackie Robinson. Sure. One of the first books he had as a little kid was a Jackie Robinson book. And my son loves dog piles. And he loves fumbles. He watches fumbles on YouTube constantly. And every time there's a fumble, he's like, "Was there a dog pile? Was there a dog pile?"
I said the other day, I go, no, dudes love dog piles. Yeah, it's just guys being dudes.
Yeah, and it's like when I go out to eat, and it's like dessert. Is there butter cake? There was a fumble. Was there a dog pile? And so in this book, it showed a huge. It was a cartoon book, right?
Sure.
Animated, but a huge dog pile when he was at UCLA playing football, and he loved that page. He always go to it, and so that was the first book, and then he's just been continuing to learn about Jackie Robinson, and that's who he chose. I'm like, if he would have chose a sports figure, I'm like, he's going to choose like Patrick Mahomes or something.
Sure.
But he was like, no, I want to do Jackie Robinson. So it was awesome, very cool. I was more nervous for that leading up to it, like I was shaking, like nervous, than any show that I've done, like coming on the air doing a show, whatever.
He's got a deep voice for 9.
I don't know how he got the deep voice. Not sure. I wanted him to do a Denny Matthews impression.
That would have been good.
The person that I admire the most is Jackie Robinson.
Ding ding.
You should be brave like Jackie.
Ding ding.
Life is only worth living. The impact it has on other lives.
And who's this 3rd grade brought to you by?
The Zone. Daddy. Yes, a very proud moment with Everett. And he got up there and nailed it.
Awesome.
Could not believe it. He's a better public speaker than I am. I hate public
job,
speaking.
Everett. I'm proud of you, Everett.
See, look at that. Everett Sterling's proud of you. So that may mean more to him than me. I'm not sure than me.
Dylan, are you proud of him?
Of course.
All right.
Darn right. Matt Derrick's super proud of him. Next. when Matt, Derrick, and I would get an inside the park home run playing Little League Baseball, there were probably 5 different airs that went along with it. But today, you can get an inside the park home run without airs because of the turf that kids are playing on. So that thing gets into the gap, and it will just keep rolling, especially if you play on a bigger field, like your younger kids that play on a big field. My son's only legit non-aired home run was a hit down the right field line that just hit right on the left side of first base, down in the outfield, and it just rolled into the corner because nothing was stopping it, and he just rounded the bases and had an actual home run with no airs. Turf helps. So we didn't have turf back in our day, Matt.
No, I benefited from my ball. It hit at the base of the chain link fence because that's what we had.
So
back then.
close to an actual home run. Dang it.
And but they didn't work real hard mowing the field, so there were like these 2.5-foot weeds right at the base of the wall, and that's where my ball landed.
Nice.
So I think the center fielder had a few seconds.
Yeah, you know what?
Of searching for the ball before.
But it wasn't an error though. Like they didn't overthrow second and then overthrow catcher and overthrow third.
It took him a little bit of time before he was able to gather the ball and hit the cutoff man and everything.
It wasn't one of those to where they overthrow second and then the guy goes to third, then they throw it to third and they overthrow third and then he heads home and it's like, wow, home run, nice job.
And our third base coach was so surprised to see me of all people with my speed barreling into third base.
Amazing.
Barreling's a good word.
And
now,
not stopping.
I had a few triples in the league because we also in that league had a field that had no fence.
Oh, those are nice.
Yeah, I mean it was the
When was
field.
this? 3 years ago?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
It was,
I was playing Little League last year.
Last week. He was killing it. He took his birth certificate. Nobody believed him.
Nobody believed me.
Especially since he's got a full beard.
Playing a couple of triples on the
it
field
up.
with no fence. You hit the ball and it rolls a little bit.
For sure, man.
But the third base coach was so surprised that he was giving me the stop sign with his left arm and the go sign with his right. I mean, it was just like,
Go.
and I looked at him, and I don't know what he was telling me to do, so I'm like, I'm going for it. I mean, I got to go for this.
It's like Christian Roland Wallace not knowing what play to run, and so he blitzes.
Exactly.
And so he just ran. I don't think he was supposed to blitz because there were only 2 defenders for 3 Houston Texans in that area.
And I don't think he played another snap after that.
But
play.
that is Spags instilling his DNA into if you don't know, just blitz.
While before the segue in there, I really watching that was really thinking to myself, gosh, does he not know what he's supposed to do, or is this a fake?
Yes.
It's a great question.
I mean,
I don't think he knew what he was supposed to do because I don't think the plan was for a delayed blitz that left 3 guys on the left side with only 2 Chiefs defenders on 3rd and 6. Luckily, Chris Jones beat Blake Fisher so fast. That was his sack in the game on 3rd and 6 on that drive. That was a second drive for the Texans after they went down the field and put a field goal on the board. It was 3rd and 6. And Roland Wallace didn't know what to do, and Chris Jones just dominated Fisher, and so there was no time for Stroud to be able to find the left side, which could have been an easy first down, could have been a huge play that we might be talking about going, well, I mean, you've got Roland Wallace out there, and he didn't know what he was supposed to do, and clear there's a coverage mishap, and you got a 70-yard touchdown there, and it just changes the whole game, blah, blah. Didn't happen because the Chiefs had a Hall of Famer that's going to be wearing a gold jacket that beat a rookie in which they didn't give that rookie help.
But maybe having the extra blitzer helped.
Maybe.
But more importantly, the end of my story.
Let's get to that.
Came around 3rd.
Yep.
And then I mean.
Oh, you're serious? Okay.
Oh, I'm serious.
Pete Rose.
I mean, well, that's
All-star.
the thing. That's the thing. I mean, I'm coming around 3rd, and I mean, I was a catcher by trade.
And then you know what happened to Buster Posey?
You were a catcher by birth.
So you know what happened to Buster Posey, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that's what happened to the catcher that.
Well, that was what was
You
going to happen
barreled.
to the catcher because I was deciding I'm not sliding here. I'm just
Good for you.
I'm running through it. I'm going full Pete Rose, Ray Fosse here.
Fosse, that's right.
I'm running right through this kid.
Albert Bell.
That's Pete Rose, Ray Fosse is
Because
the
I
one
probably
like this.
had 150 pounds on the kid, so you know I'm absolutely going through this guy, and he knew it. I mean, he saw me coming down the line. He's like, "This dude's not sliding."
Business decision. I'm out of here. I got PE on Monday.
He made the business decision to move off the plate and move up to try and catch the throw, and then was just going to make try and make the sweep tag. I'm sure,
But you beat the throw anyway.
Well, he tried to, I think, sweep tag before the ball got there. And,
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes total sense.
I mean,
smart.
I declare there's no error on the play. I mean,
there isn't an error on the play.
I mean, I was clearly
It's not an
beating
error
it.
if it's a bang play at home and the catcher doesn't
exactly.
make the catch. Then it's not an error. All right, I'm not scoring it an error.
Dylan, do you have any?
This was the 80s.
Dylan has
12-year-old stories to tell? Or?
Dylan has no baseball stories, okay? None whatsoever. Oh, wait, Dylan has actual cool baseball stories in which the man went and pitched in college. So, this guy's got... Remember when you struck out Pujols?
Yeah. I'll go with that.
My best friend...
I struck out a guy that went to the same school that Albert Pujols
There
went.
you go.
So,
there you go.
It's close.
This guy went to Jules, so, by proxy. You know what I mean? 6 degrees of Maplewoods, duh. This guy's, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. We played Albert Pujols in high school, and my best friend, Lemos, Midwest Barber, check him out. He played center field, and Albert Pujols hit one in the gap, and he made a parallel with the ground diving catch in the gap to rob Albert Pujols. And it's on his business card, actually, still to this day, which, I probably would put it on that as well. Also, Albert Pujols was 25 in that game, I'm pretty sure, in high school. He was a 25-year-old man because he was also, he was a big dude. Like, you could tell, right? Like, this guy is different, man. I don't know if he was 25 or not, but he was a hell of a player. I'm glad the Royals.
He looked like a 45-year-older out there when he was 38.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad the Royals ignored their own backyard for that one. Not a big deal. All right, so let's get into the Chiefs. Man, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Let's do Pete Carroll. Let's talk about this first. Get it out of the way. Pete Carroll, AFC West, Las Vegas Raiders. He is the head coach, and I put the numbers together, Matt. 20 different conference championship appearances of the 4 coaches in the AFC West. They have been to a combined 8 Super Bowls. They have a combined 5 Super Bowl wins. And they have 2 national championships as well of the 4. I told Curtis on the air, not to his face, to do some research to see if this is the greatest collection of coaches in any division in NFL history, of accomplished coaches.
Yeah.
Because there can't be another one that would be maybe it's tied, but I can't imagine another one that is more accomplished than these 4 guys combined coaching in the same division.
You could argue maybe the 90s NFC East with Parcells, Joe Gibbs, Jimmy Johnson.
Okay.
But I'm drawing a blank on any other ones in history.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. But this division, it got tougher. Not that the Raiders are going to be a Super Bowl contender, but they're not going to be a train wreck. They'll be at least an organized team. They'll be better coached moving forward. I compared Matt Derrick. I compared Pete Carroll hiring to the Chiefs trading for Alex Smith. It's not the Andy Reid hiring because the ages. Pete Carroll's 73. I think there's a ceiling for what Pete Carroll can give them, but they needed stability in their franchise. The Chiefs needed quarterback stability badly. Alex Smith brought that. You got to a level of success. You knew that you had hit the ceiling. You needed to move on to somebody else. Pete Carroll's 73. He signs a 3-year contract. I don't know that he'll be coaching after that, but at least he will build or attempt to build a ground floor and a culture of what is expected around there, along with Tom Brady, guys who have won Super Bowls before.
Yeah, and that to me is what this is. It should be a culture building hire. Because let's face it, you're not hiring a 73-year-old guy to be there for the next 10 years.
90-year-old Pete Carroll, 17 years. The longest tenured coach in the AFC West, Pete Carroll.
I mean, I don't think you're even expecting to be there 5 years. I think what you're hoping for is you get 2 to 3 years of rebuilding the culture, rebuilding the expectations. I would expect that either the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator that Pete Carroll hires will be the head coach in waiting. Maybe it's Tom Brady. I don't know. But
you can be an owner coach, right? Can you be an owner? You just can't be an owner player. Like, can you be an owner? I mean, you can be an owner GM. Why can't you be an owner coach?
Semi-pro, they did all 3, I think, so you can probably do it.
Oh, yeah.
Will Ferrell did it. Yeah, Jackie Moon, yeah.
Little Big League.
There you go.
Little Big League. The owner named the little kid owned the team, named himself the manager. That was
different rules.
That was a documentary.
Yeah, but that would be in the NFL.
That was a biopic.
That would be a salary cap evasion type move. So
that's a
biopic.
Yeah, that was a biopic. Little Big League about the Minnesota Twins.
That was a documentary.
Yes. Anyway, go ahead.
So, I mean, you're hoping he can come in, rebuild the culture. I mean, that's, I think, what you're going to expect with Pete Carroll. you're hoping for. I mean, I don't know how much he necessarily has left in the tank. I mean, the last couple of years in Seattle were downward turns. And
He was 25 and 26 the last 3 years in Seattle.
yeah, I mean, it's been
7 wins, 9 wins, 9 wins.
5 years since he had a winning record. I mean, it was like they were 12 and 4 in
12 and 4.
2020.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what I think you're expecting that you get with Pete Carroll is to change the culture, and that is going to be hard enough in Vegas.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're like I always say. I mean, there's 8 teams in the NFL who don't know what they're doing. The Raiders have been in that 8 for, I mean, at least since Jack Del Rio. And part of the problem that they have is that their owner is part of the culture problem. So, I mean, if Tom Brady is able to get Mark Davis out of the picture a little bit, keep him more behind the scenes and not be part of the decision-making process and not part of the business, then they've got a chance.
Yeah. I don't know if this has anything to do with it whatsoever because they're not in Los Angeles anymore. But Albert Pujols reference again. When the Angels signed Albert Pujols and people are like, that's a terrible contract. I'm like, yeah, it will be a terrible contract. But when it gets there, it's a loss leader because the Angels, while signing Pujols, wanted to win, but they also wanted to break into the Dodgers stranglehold on the Latin market in Los Angeles. And signing Pujols got a lot of people to be Angels fans because of Pujols. I don't think this is that, but
They're all back to being Dodgers fans now.
that's true. No doubt about that. I don't think that is this, but I do think it increases their Q rating around L.A. with Pete Carroll, who is beloved in L.A. with his time at USC. I mean, they already have fans in L.A., Raiders fans, and now they bring in one of the most popular coaches in that area with the Raiders. That might just be an added benefit from an ownership standpoint of merchandise and things like that. But it can't hurt. If that's who you were already going to hire, it can't hurt that that's an added benefit that he's one of the most popular coaches in L.A.
Yeah.
And you already have a fan base in L.A. to some degree.
I mean, I have to feel like it's more coincidence.
Yeah,
than
that's what I'm
anything.
saying. Maybe
I
an
can't-
added, yeah.
If that was one of the factors of why they hired Pete Carroll, this isn't going to work. I mean, that's
Agreed.
a bad call.
I totally agree. That's what I'm saying. It was one of the factors as to why they signed Albert Pujols.
Yeah,
I don't think it's one of the factors as to why they're hiring Pete Carroll.
that didn't help the Angels.
It didn't. Well, at the time they thought it would with the Latin market.
Couldn't even get past the Royals.
That's
Come on.
a great point. Could not. Matt Derrick is our guest. All right, Matt, what did you see in that game, Chiefs and Texans? At the beginning, was it rust, or were the Texans playing at either a different scheme than the first go-around or maybe at a different intensity level than the first go-around? So was it rust? Was it the Texans combination there? What did you see as to why the first part felt like it was more pulling teeth, and then in the second half we saw the Chiefs put drives together and defensively get stops after stops?
I mean, of all the factors, I think most of the factors were on the Texans side. I really think the rust thing was a little overrated. I mean, I didn't see a lot of rust out there. What I saw was that the Texans came in with a pretty good game plan. And the Chiefs actually came in with a game plan somewhat expecting the Texans to do exactly what they did. Because the Texans came in looking like what they wanted to do was take away the outside, and the Chiefs were absolutely more than willing to give up the outside and take the middle of the field. And that's what that became.
We're going to take away the outside and allow you to have Kelsey.
It was, they knew that the Texans were going to come after them with a pass rush. They knew that the corners were going to try and take away the outside. It's going to leave Travis Kelce over the middle. And whether that was an adjustment that the Chiefs made or simply part of what their game plan was, and I think that was their game plan.
Which is why, to me, it doesn't concern me that the wide receivers had as quiet of a day as they did outside of Xavier Worthy.
They were all decoys.
Yeah. They were
except for Xavier Worthy, they were all decoys.
You're gonna so let me get this straight. If you're Andy Reid and Matt Nagy and Blay Meyer and everybody there in the passing game, you're gonna avoid Stingley and Lassiter while they're playing a shell coverage over top, and you have the middle of the field where they struggle defensively, and a linebacker that's coming back and playing, but not that good in coverage, really studly against the run, but not good in coverage. Let's focus on the middle of the field and not the wide receivers. That seems elementary. So that to me is why I'm not concerned about the lack of wide receiver targets, because why do you need to target the wide receivers? And they did. Hollywood Brown, it was that close to us not talking about the wide receivers not having these different passes. It would be, well, they had that one to Hollywood. They had it. It was open. They took advantage of it. And by the way, on that play, Patrick Mahomes said that led to the next play of Kelsey being open. Whether it did or not, I'm not sure. But the all-22 of that play, Xavier Worthy's wide open, about 15, 20 yards down the field. And nobody is guarding him. He's running an over route, and he is unguarded. So they had two guys running open on that particular scheme. Mahomes had his choice. He took the one to Hollywood down the field. It wasn't a bad choice because, I mean, you're talking about Eric Murray's hand in the right place, right time that knocks the ball out from being a great play.
I'm still not convinced he didn't catch it. I don't know if he did. It was so close.
The problem is, once he starts catching it going to the ground, then you immediately have to survive the ground. If he's up and catches it and goes to the ground, you don't have to survive the ground. If you're have any loss of balance while you're going to the ground catching it, you must survive the ground and not have the ball come out.
And he kind of survived the ground,
right? And
but
then
it was just like, at which point did he survive the ground and did it get taken away? I mean,
right.
And did it count as an interception? That was my other concern.
The ball never hit the ground.
Yeah, I'm just tired of the damn refs
that's my point.
screwing the Chiefs.
That's the thing. I mean, the ball never hit the ground.
Well, it hit the ground after it came out.
But it was after Eric Murray had it.
So it was a catch, interception, or a drop.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Yeah,
it was either a catch, interception, or a drop.
How was Dalton Schultz as a catch? But that wasn't, in my opinion, because Dalton Schultz really didn't have firm control with both feet in bounds. But that was almost like, why are we even reviewing it? This is obviously a catch when they went to Russell. I think it was York or whatever his name is.
Russell York.
My bad.
It's got to be your bull. But that's why, Matt, I think I think the game plan is going to be different because of a different defense, different defenders, different ways the Bills defend, different front for the Bills than we saw from the Texans. But I'm not concerned about Hollywood or DeAndre or Juju or anybody else that didn't get targets in this game because, Kelsey did his Kelsey thing. And they did enough to get by the Texans without, to me, really opening the bag and throwing everything at the wall to just empty the clip on the Texans.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why the game plan is going to be completely different this week is that the Chiefs do not have the same fear of the Bills secondary as they did the Texans.
And by the way, news out: Taylor Rapp is not playing in this game.
And that's even more so.
He is out.
I mean, they're not worried about their safeties. They're not worried about their corners. I mean, they've got a lot of guys, even the guys who are going to play are a little bit banged up.
Biddeford's solid, but banged up.
And
then you have Teron Johnson, who's a really good slot corner, but banged up. So then you have Rasul Douglas, who was good 5 years ago.
Yeah, and Damar Hamlin is a great story, and I'll wait until next week or whenever to give my rant about how if he does not win Comeback Player of the Year this year, I'm just going to go around and start punching
Damar
people.
Hamlin?
Yes. Since last year, he couldn't win it because he didn't do anything.
No, Joe Burrow's going to win it.
And if that's the case, then every voter needs to get punched in the head by me, and I will gladly do
violence, Matt.
Punching people.
Yes, because the man died on the field. And
literally.
And he's never going to win Comeback Player of the Year award. Last year was because he didn't play enough. And this year it's going to be because Joe Burrow came back from an arm injury?
Jalen Watson coming back in the same season.
Here's the question. Did any of them have a game stopped because their heart stopped beating?
No. And
if the answer is no, then they don't deserve to win.
To your point, Joe Flacco didn't play the whole season either. Like, he was not the Browns starting quarterback. And
his career was dead. That's what his
difference. And they actually came out this year to the AP voters with a specific description of what Comeback Player of the Year is.
What about Sam Darnold?
Which is why Sam Darnold was ineligible.
He came back from being ass.
Yeah, but
that was what Joe Flacco won for last year.
Which is why they changed it this year and said players that fit the criteria of Joe Flacco are no longer eligible. So the NFL had to say, we don't trust our own people to vote for
eligible.
Is Sam Darnold eligible?
The only uneligible players are rookies.
Are you sure? Is Sam Darnold a finalist for Comeback Player of the Year?
He's actually the betting favorite right now. What? Or no, I think Joe Burrow might be, but he is very
I'm pretty
up
sure
there.
Joe Burrow's the betting favorite, but I thought earlier in the year the conversation with Sam Darnold could...
Joe Burrow, if he wins, could finally win an award that Patrick doesn't have.
Matt Derrick is perfectly fine right now.
And I'm perfectly fine. I'm just doing deep breath, happy.
Are you
place
having
here.
a conniption?
I
Over there?
am getting ready to have one because I'm just like I don't even know what we're doing here. If DeMar Hamlin goes 2 years without winning Comeback Player of the Year,
He's not going to win it.
because voters believe that they thought that Joe Flacco coming back from being terrible was a comeback.
Well, hear me out.
Joe Flacco.
I get where you're coming from for sure. Understand it. Devil's advocate. Can you really be Comeback Player of the Year if teams are trying to pick on you?
If you came back from being deceased on the field because your heart stopped beating?
No, I get that. I get that. My point is the Chiefs are going to probably try to attack DeMar.
Sure. I would too.
I mean,
I've got no problem with that.
But
was that more important? Okay, so Joe Flacco last year
we're not doing this
coming
again.
back
I'm just
from
trying
being
to give you a hard
terrible
time.
was more impressive.
Yes.
No, you were being like the standard voter, and
he's going to punch you.
And I mean,
You're going to get punched if you keep
Oklahoma
going down
drill.
this route.
Oklahoma drill.
So
now.
here's what the AP came out with last October. Said or in October. The spirit of the AP Comeback Player of the Year award is to honor a player who has demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity by overcoming illness, physical injury, or other circumstances that led him to miss playing time the previous season. Sam Darnold didn't have any of that to miss playing time the previous season. So that was the argument around Sam Darnold. But Sam Darnold is a finalist for AP Comeback Player of the Year.
So that's
award.
it's not a mandate. It's
Right.
a request and a reminder. But again, the only ineligible players are rookies.
That is true. The rookies.
Joe Burrow does make sense because of the injury. I'm with you. I was joking because
Sam
Sam Darnold
Darnold
had came back from being bad.
Buns.
Oh, but you are giving the conventional wisdom argument from a lot of these voters because a lot of these voters are morons.
He's saying you're a moron, Sterling. Let's just get to the bottom
No, I
of
know
it.
he was just being devil's advocate.
Oh,
These
okay.
people are actually voting this
Oh, okay.
way, and they're morons. But
Okay, that's fine.
I will say, and I learned this because this morning I woke up at 6:15. These are the kind of things that happen when I wake up at that time of morning because I'm not supposed to wake up that early in the day. But I found out today, maybe everybody else already knew this.
Charles Omenihu should win Comeback Player of the Year.
No, but Sam Darnold's grandfather was Richard Hammer, who
Dick
was
Hammer.
Dick Hammer, yeah.
who was an LA firefighter,
Yeah.
and dispatcher who played a firefighter dispatcher on Emergency in the 1970s as Dick Hammer.
I knew that from Listen or Lose.
I had no idea.
When did that come up with?
That was on this year's edition of Listen or Lose.
That's
They
awesome.
Tried to remind
Dick
who
Hammer.
Sam Darnold's grandfather was.
Speaking of
Dick Hammer.
Richard Hammer, how do you think they does Leo Chanel just spy Josh Allen because he brings the hammer?
It's a good attempt. I appreciate it.
I don't know. I tried something.
I
I wanted to
appreciate
get back
that
to
segue.
football. I tried
appreciate
to.
that segue.
Does Leo spy? Tranquil spy? No one spy?
I mean,
We'll talk about that next. Hey, have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings? All right, Matt, you were asked about spying Josh Allen.
Yes.
And despite what the ladies around Buffalo will do and maybe spy on him in his house, we're talking about actually, and he's spoken for it now, you know?
Yeah.
He's got a famous fiance. So
maybe she'll sit in the booth next to Taylor on Sunday.
Maybe she sits in a suite with Jason Kelsey, who then takes his shirt off. And the oddity of Jason Kelsey telling, is it Bo Allen that played in Philly with Jason, like his best friend, that he came to the Texans game this weekend with Jason and had never met Taylor Swift. And Jason Kelsey was like, hey, you know, I need you to don't be a jackass meeting Taylor Swift. And when people played that clip.
Says Jason Kelsey.
People played that clip. And then right next to it was Jason Kelsey outside the Bills suite going, screaming and yelling with his shirt off. Like, do as I say, not as I do. But do they spy Josh Allen with whether that be Leo or Drew like they did last year in the playoffs to a degree with Willie Gay and Leo, but did not do it earlier this year? How do you think they go about it? Spags goes about it this go-around.
Oh, I think they definitely spy on him this time around. But I think that you kind of touched on it there. You know, as far as who's going to do it, everybody. I mean, I think that the Chiefs are much more equipped this time around to have multiple spies. And, you know, and Spags kind of touched on it yesterday because I wanted to kind of get at, and one of the things I've been talking about and writing about has been that this Chiefs defense in the last month or so, to me, has had a lot of the hallmarks of the 2019 defense going into the postseason. Because remember, that defense had Tyrann Mathieu and Kendall Fuller, who were interchangeable.
That's right, yeah.
And you could show any look with those two and do anything off of it because both of them could do the same things. They could play on the line, they could play in the box, they could play on the back end. You could show the quarterback a look, and he would have no idea what you were doing because you could do a mirror image on each side. And you could bring pressure from one side, you could bring it from the other. You just never knew what those two guys were going to be doing. Now I think that, you know, Spags has got like 6 guys that he's got like that.
Which guys do you think in particular?
I mean, you named off a couple. I mean, right there. I mean, you know, Leo can do it. Drew can do it. Jaden Hicks can do it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And that's a good one because that's just another piece of the pie, another level at which you can do that.
Connor a guy you could do that with?
I think Connor could do it. I mean, he's not as big as what you'd like to see with Hicks and being able to, you know, spy Allen and be able to tackle if necessary.
Plus Connor isn't a great
Justin
tackler.
Reed potentially?
Justin Reed potentially. I mean, you've got I think you've got a lot of guys that you could move into that spot if you want to. But part of that plays into how are the Chiefs going to be playing and deploying the secondary anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, not that you can't have a linebacker. I mean, Bolton probably wouldn't be my guy, but he could do it too. I mean, anybody could really be part of that. But the way that right now and the Chiefs have, I think part of it has been how much they liked what they had in 2019 with Fuller and Tyrann. But how many guys do they have like that now? Because Spags talked about it yesterday. He's like, it's not just Justin Reed and Shamari Connor and Jaden Hicks and Brian Cook, you know, and Chris Roland Wallace. I mean, you know, they've got all of these guys that have and LJ and Jarius Sneed was one of these guys who can play corner, who can play safety. They can line them up anywhere. And they've intentionally gone out and gotten these defensive backs with that multiple versatility. So that in a situation like this, I mean, any one of them could play in the box. Any one of them could spy. Any one of them can be in the slot. Any one of them can be on the back end.
Serious question, though, in regards to Christian Roland Wallace, because first time around, you and I have talked about Shamari Connor did not have a very good game. Do you think that was the reason why he did not play really again in that Texans game? Was that matchup dependent for Christian Roland Wallace? Because my thought process is if Khalil Shakur lines up in the slot, which you will do a lot, I don't want Shamari Connor on him.
I want Trent McDuffie on him.
I want Trent McDuffie on him, but we've not seen the Chiefs move Trent McDuffie back into the slot. They've pretty much said, Trent, you are now an outside corner.
But we've seen him travel with guys that have lined up in the slot before, right? I mean, we've seen him do that a couple times.
We thought maybe we would with Nico Collins, but that wasn't the case. Yeah. So how do you think the Chiefs try and attack the Bills offensively when it comes to, you know, Khalil Shakur and Christian Roland Wallace versus Shamari?
Yeah, that's where, I mean, I think it is going to get tricky because if they don't, have Trent travel with Shakir, which I still think is a possibility. I mean, the reason why they don't, obviously, is because if they put McDuffie on the inside, then now they've got two guys on the outside that they're probably not real comfortable with. Now, maybe they also did that in Week 11 a little bit because they didn't have Jalen Watson.
Sure.
So maybe that does make a difference because when you have Jalen out there for as many snaps as he can be out there, maybe you do feel better about that. Now, I mean, it's important that I think that probably that Watson doesn't get on Shakir because he's not 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be. So, and I mean, after that, I mean, I
want Watson on Cooper or Coleman.
I know Cooper. I know Samuel had good days. And, I mean, Coleman has not been the same since coming back from that wrist injury. I mean, he can't catch anything. His catch
He's like Quentin Johnston now.
Is way down. He's just useless for the Bills right now. I mean, you almost don't have to worry about him.
One of the things that I thought stood out from Chris Jones yesterday in him saying the yardage that they had on the ground rushing in the last two games combined, and he knew what that was. That stood out, and I put a star next to it because methinks they've probably talked about it in the on the defensive meeting rooms about the yardage. Maybe it's on the board. Maybe it's been emblazoned into their mind. 286 rushing yards the last two games combined against you guys. Your stud rushing defense. They have just sliced and diced you. And I'm a little surprised Nick Bolton wasn't asked about it earlier this week because it was something that he was, going back and listening to some of the things after that Bills game in Week 11 that he was so frustrated with was him talking about the leaky yards and missed tackles and what they did against Buffalo, which, they had 13 missed tackles against Buffalo, and I've brought this stat out a couple of times. Outside of the Buffalo Bills game, they averaged 5.5 missed tackles a game. Against Buffalo, they had 13 missed tackles in that game, which was the most by 2. The other one was the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar and Derrick Henry forced some missed tackles, but they had 13 missed tackles against the Bills earlier this year, and they gave up their third most yards after contact against the Bills this year. The others were Pittsburgh on Christmas Day, and then Baltimore, Week 1, and then the Buffalo Bills. But they didn't have near the missed tackles as those different games. They had 13 of them. The fact that Nick Bolton talked about that after the game, they've talked about eye discipline a lot, and Chris Jones was quoting the number of yards that they've given up on the run. Like, I think the defense feels pretty pissed about what happened in Buffalo the last go-around and not getting the stops, giving up 30 points for the first time since the Eagles game in the Super Bowl, and not able to get off the field on that final drive.
I mean, the Chiefs have had pretty consistent strategies against guys like Josh Allen. And I'm going to throw Lamar Jackson in there too. I mean, you have quarterbacks who can move, who are big, who can beat you in multiple ways. But one of the things that Steve Spagnuolo never wants to do with these guys is, one, never wants them to be able to get out of the pocket and work. I mean, you want to keep them hemmed into the pocket. You don't want them to be able to escape laterally, because once plays break down, they're players who can beat you that way. They can throw the ball downfield once coverage breaks down. And Josh Allen, what he's really good at is obviously taking off up the middle. Done that against the Chiefs. But how are you able to do that? Well, you're able to do that one of two ways. Well, two main ways, and sometimes the Chiefs do both of these, which is that, one, they over pursue on the edges. Therefore, they're not holding the edge correctly.
Yep.
And then, two, they have someone who is a great player and all pro in Chris Jones, freelances a little bit, maybe isn't always where he's supposed to be, and against a guy like Josh Allen, you can't do that. You're not going to sack him. Like you talked about in the first hour, you're not going to sack Josh Allen. So why are you bothering trying to sack Josh Allen? What you should be doing and need to be doing is just making sure that he doesn't escape. Mm-hmm. Pressure him, and you pressure him all you want to. Squeeze him from all 4 angles or 5 angles or if you're 6 angles if you're bringing a blitzer, but just don't let him have those escape valves. If you don't let him have the escape valve, you don't even have to spy him. If you maintain gap integrity, I mean, you have to have the spy if you break down and have those kind of problems, but if you maintain your gaps, you maintain and hold the edge, you can squeeze Josh Allen, just at least keep him in the pocket, force him to get rid of the ball more quickly than maybe he wants to. You can't, but the last time, against the Chiefs, Oh boy, he had, as my colleague Nick Jacobs said, he had time to do his taxes back there. Contact TurboTax online.
Can he do
Get
mine?
a coffee, have some lunch, eat a sandwich. He could have done everything back there because he had all the time in the world.
Yep. It reminds me a little bit, and we'll take a break, but it reminds me a little bit. I brought up this comparison with the missed tackles, and then the fixing of those was the 2022 season and that conference championship game against Cincinnati Bengals. Earlier in the year, the Chiefs had missed 14 tackles against the Bengals in Cincinnati. That was the game where it was so frustrating. Samaje Perine kept getting first downs, catching the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and Chiefs couldn't tackle him. And I'm like, I hate Samaje Perine out there on the field. I'd rather it be Joe Mixon than Samaje Perine. I went back and looked. Samaje Perine forced 8 missed tackles in that game. 8. There have been games this year where the Chiefs have had half that missed tackles in an entire game. He forced 8, 14 missed tackles, 93 yards after contact in Cincinnati. Conference championship game, 6 missed tackles, 36 yards after contact. If they have 8 more missed tackles and 60 more yards after contact in that championship game, they ain't winning 23-20.
No.
With that final field goal. They're losing that game. And if Buffalo comes in and the Chiefs miss 13 more tackles and give up 100 yards after contact and they pick up first downs because of missed tackles, we're going to be talking about the offseason next week. So, but they talked about it that week and corrected it that week, and it was a big emphasis of tackling that week, and I think that's the same thing going on with the Chiefs right now. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get Matt Darrett's thoughts on the matchup, what he thinks, who he thinks will have the biggest impact of the players that did not play, and who he would like to have the biggest impact of the players that did not play the first go-around. More Zone next. ask them and see where you go with it. Jalen Watson, Charles Omenihu, Hollywood Brown. Obviously not in that order. Could be. I don't know. One question is, who has the biggest impact in your mind? The second question would be, who would you want to have the biggest impact? So who would have the biggest impact that would have the biggest impact on the game? That was two answers for me of who I thought was going to have the biggest impact versus who I would like to have the biggest impact. What are you thinking?
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think, oh gosh, it's really difficult because I think that Charles Omenihu could have the biggest impact, but it not be obvious, whereas Jalen Watson might have the biggest impact as far as just visually, just maybe even numerically. I mean, Charles Omenihu might have a huge impact, not have a single sack or a forced fumble or
could you say the same
anything.
Thing about Jalen Watson, like has a huge impact but doesn't get targeted or anything?
Jalen Watson doesn't get targeted. Yeah, I mean that would be it. So I think it would be between those two for me.
As to who you think?
Who I think, and I'd probably give the slight edge to Omenihu.
Okay.
But the one that I mean, how did you word it? How much did you?
Who would you want?
Who would you want
to have the biggest impact? That would have the biggest impact on the Chiefs winning.
I mean, if you tell me the Chiefs won the game, then I mean Hollywood's the one I think you want to have the biggest impact, because if he does, of those three, that means the offense is fixed. That means the offense is ready to go. You probably have won this game by scoring some points. You are ready now to go to the Super Bowl.
I guess my pushback would be, I think you could get offensive production from Travis, from Xavier, from Kareem, from Hopkins, and I think if Hollywood didn't have a great game, you could still find a way that the offense put up 30. I think if Jalen Watson has a bad game, or I think the secondary is getting torched. You know what I'm saying? Because I think he's such an upgrade. Like if Najee Johnson's in for Jalen, we've seen the disparity there. I get Omenihu. I think he can have a big impact without having a big impact in the box score. I guess for me, I think Hollywood for me is a tertiary guy, just because I think other guys offensively can still pick up that slack.
See, but I see it as an indicator that if Hollywood has a big game, that's telling me that Travis has had a big game too, and Kareem has had a big game, because I don't think he's the standout in a lonely offensive performance.
It's interesting who I thought would have the biggest impact. I'm going with Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
Who I want to have the biggest impact, I went with Omenihu, because if Omenihu's having an impact, I mean they haven't sacked Josh Allen last two games they've played him. So can it be what you talked about, like pressuring him, just collapsing the pocket? Also, he was pretty damn good in the run game against the Texans, too, and setting the edge a couple of times. And so if Omenihu has a really dominant game and has a huge impact on the game, that can go all three of them, right? I mean, you're not wrong with any of the three. If Hollywood has a big game, or if Omenihu has a big game, or Jalen Watson has a big game, obviously a better situation than what it was the first go-around. But we'll see. All right, Matt, how do you see the game going, and if you have a score in mind?
I mean, the Chiefs, I think, are the better team. Despite what happened in Week 11, I think the Chiefs are the better team. I think they're the better coach team. And typically in games like this, who wins the game? It's the team with the better coach and the better quarterback. And as good as Josh Allen is, I don't think he's quite as good as Patrick Mahomes. And Andy Reid still going to be the dominant genius over Sean McDermott. I mean, the Bills are basically the Chiefs against the Patriots, and you're not a Jedi until you are able to knock off Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and that's where Josh Allen and Sean McDermott are. I also assume that the Chiefs will not cover, because that's not what they do. So in a 1.5 point game, Chiefs by 27-26.
27-26. That's
you and I are close.
By the way, that's the exact score that Stan Weber picked this morning.
No way.
Yeah, and Stan brought up a really interesting point, and he said, okay, as I look at this game, and he said, who's got the better coach? Chiefs. Who's got the better offensive play caller? Chiefs. Who's got the better defensive coordinator? Chiefs. Who's got the better quarterback? Chiefs. Who's got the best pass catcher? Chiefs. Kelsey. Who's got the best defensive player on the field? Chiefs. Who's got the second best defensive player on the field? Chiefs.
But Jason, whose time is it?
Bills.
Okay.
Bills.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's their time. It's
Who
our
jumps
time.
to the most
it's
tables?
our time down here. It was their time up there, but it's our time down here. Go ahead.
Stan and I have a lot of the same logic there, and I obviously did not copy it from him, and I've got an alibi because I was looking up Dick Hammers this morning.
Damn it, that should have been the dismount.
We got 10 seconds.
Oh, no! Still got 10 seconds. I don't think we could do enough Dick Hammers in 10 seconds.
Sterling can.
Talking some Chiefs and Bills. Obviously, that game coming up in a couple of days. Some news in the NFL with the Pro Football Writers Awards coming down, and the Comeback Player of the Year goes to Sam Darnold, much to the chagrin of Matt Derrick, who I'm guessing voted for Damar Hamlin and not Joe Burrow, since he said voting for Joe Burrow makes you a moron, instead of the man who literally died and has come back and is now a starter and all of that stuff. And Damar Hamlin was up for the Comeback Player of the Year. All right, let's talk with Kendall Gammon here on Sports Radio 810 WHB here in the zone. Kendall, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Jason. Yourself?
I am doing just fine. I am pumped up and ready to go for this game on Sunday. I like to get a sort of at the beginning, when it's a big game like this, a sort of a temperature check as to how you're feeling, confidence level, while we're 48 hours away, knowing that every one of us, the emotions will fluctuate over the next 48 hours or so. But how you feeling right now, Kendall?
Yeah, no doubt. I think I feel good. I mean, you've got to be happy that obviously it's in Arrowhead Stadium. That's a huge advantage. I'm not sure how I'd be feeling if it were the opposite and it was over in Buffalo. So I don't know. I think anytime you've got Patrick Mahomes on your side and the myriad of players and options that he has, along with being rested, I think it's hard to pick against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's just, been there, done that. How much is we've probably talked about this before and picked your brain, but, Andy Reid's been asked about it a couple times since he has talked Monday, Wednesday, yesterday, and he'll talk today as well. And a conversation we got into yesterday with Matt Lane from KC Sports Network just about, the Chiefs being there, done that. And the Chiefs in these games just feel like the tortoise and the hare, right? Just the steady Eddie the whole time. And maybe some other teams are coming out too amped up, highs and lows throughout the game, letting something get too high, letting the lows get too lows. Not saying that's what the Texans did, but it really feels like the Chiefs are just that steady pressure throughout the game that eventually makes a team crack. How much is that, obviously it's a big part of it, but, how much is that a factor in a game, whether it's against the Bills or anybody else, of been there, done that? And is that the feeling of when the Chiefs sort of have that, steady feel? Is that because of experience in playing in all these games?
I think that's a fair assessment. I think it's not so much that the great teams take their game up so much in the playoffs as they continue to play the game that they play, and other teams press and maybe play below their abilities. And I don't care what you say about Buffalo, and they are built better this year and everything. But they know the history. They know what's happened, and you can't help but press a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see how Josh Allen and company deal with, especially the first 5 to 7 minutes of emotion in Arrowhead, because it's going to be completely bonkers. And I think the Chiefs. I mean, you've got guys that have been on the team 4, 5, 6 years who have never not played in an AFC Championship game, and I can't tell you how big a deal that is. For me, my third year with the Steelers, we played in the AFC Championship game. We lost in the last play to the San Diego Chargers, and then we come back the next year and we make it and we win against the Colts and go to Super Bowl 30. And having that experience from the year before to that year and winning it, it made a difference, and that was just 1 year. So all the experience that the Chiefs have playoff-wise, I don't think you can discount that at all.
Yeah, it's interesting because, that 95 team that you guys go to the Super Bowl and beat that Colts team. I'm not saying that the Bills are this or the Texans were this last week, but just interesting in that you face off against a Chargers team the year before that it's sort of, been there, done that. And then the Colts were that upstart, just knocked off the Chiefs, huge upset. You were probably planning on going to Kansas City to play in the AFC Championship game. Instead, you get a home game with the Colts, and you guys were just there the year before. Now, that also came down to the last play at a Hail Mary that was a pretty skin of the teeth type deal. But that is interesting. Is like, so did you feel like a different level of experience in that game versus the Colts, or what they may have been feeling, or is it just on your sideline? You guys sort of been there, done that. Nothing is new here. You know what the feelings are. and you're ready for a play here or there that may go against you or for you, and playing all 4 quarters?
Man, it's kind of hard to go back. I mean, that was 1995. That's a ways back. But in general, I just remember, Coach Cowher had a great calmness about him and an expectation to win, and it just felt like also the fact that we were very, I'd say, happy and probably felt fortunate to a degree that Indianapolis had knocked off the Chiefs in that game the week before, and so now we were at home and. We just felt like we were a better team than the Colts. I remember that, and we played well. And that being said, as you said, it came down to the last play of the game where the ball literally was on the guy's belly in the end zone, and then the ball rolled off and hit the ground. And thankfully, the official was there because there sure as the heck wasn't any replay to overturn that back then. So, man, that would have been rough because I remember 1993 when we lost the FC Championship game, and I mean. That's what you're trying to do and get to is a Super Bowl. And I was crying like a baby. I don't mind admitting that. I mean, it is what you want. And to see it taken away in one play is huge. And to get back there the next year and do what we did was huge. So back to it, the Chiefs, their expectations, I guess the teamwork side of things, the leadership through Big Red. And I just think the experience is you cannot discount that at all.
What's the saying is that you should be crying at the end of the season, crying because you've won or crying because you lost because of everything you've put into the season?
You know what? That's good. You know what? What's crazy is I've never heard that before, and that makes complete sense. You know what? I'm sheltered, I guess.
No, it's what I tell my son every day we wake up in the morning. Cry at the end of the day because of how hard you worked. Cry because you won or lost. No, I don't say that to him. But yeah, I've always appreciated that. I probably
like that.
butchered the quote in some way, shape, or form. But at the end of the season, tears should be there, either of joy because you won the whole thing or sadness you didn't. If you put in the work along the way, if you were working your butt off all year long to get a certain goal and you fall short, there is nothing wrong with letting your emotions flow because big, bad, tough football players, Dan Campbell, crying, after the game which lost last week, and understandable because so much put into a full season comes down to one game. Lamar Jackson, I don't know if you saw the latest Hard Knocks, Kendall. They've been doing the in-season Hard Knocks about the AFC North, and Lamar Jackson post-game was like, very professional and, saying about Mark Andrews, it's about our whole team, and, we learn from this, we move on. But Hard Knocks having the access in the locker room and Lamar being mic'd up, I was surprised they released this audio, but it was Lamar still in full pads at his locker with his head in his hands, sort of his head between his legs, and just going, "I'm not going to be all right, man." Like, and that's the real emotion, right? That's the real, raw how he feels. He's got to pull himself together to go be a professional and talk to the media and say, "Hey, we learned from this. We got to get better next year." But what he really feels is, last year, the year before, the year before, the year before. Man,
right, exactly.
I know what I put in, and we're doing it again. I'm not going to be. It's going to be all right, man. I'm not going to be all right. I'm not going. That's the true emotion of what happens in these games behind the scenes in the locker room, and the devastation that comes along with it, and the elation that comes along with it when you're on the winning side.
Yeah, it really does, and I can't imagine having that much frustration to deal with like he does because I only had a couple years of it. But when you look at it, the season starts when you start working out in early March, and everything culminates trying to get to this game. And there's only one team that's truly happy, and it is just tough. I mean, not only I talked to you about myself, but the late Kevin Green, Pro Football Hall of Fame outside linebacker. I remember he lockered next to me, and he was on the ground and just tears and just so disappointed. And the media comes in and they're asking him things, and they weren't doing anything real bad, but they probably should have let him cool down a little bit more. And I just remember him saying, he yelled something to the extent of, I've never been this disappointed. Can you just let me be for a little bit? And that was really real and raw as well. And I also appreciate the fact that never really got out. I mean, because that probably would have been a great story or a great line. But he was not a happy camper, as you might imagine, and with good reason. Yeah,
it reminds me of the video of Frank Clark. That's who it was. It was Frank Clark and the video after the Chiefs won against the Eagles in the Super Bowl. And at that point, we sort of knew that was the last year for Frank Clark.
Right.
He thought maybe it might have been his last year, who was going to sign him. He played in Denver the next year in 2023, but this was the 2022 season. And, Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts, the throw falls short or whatever. But the confetti has already fallen. He's sitting on the bench, this video. And I remember this because I remember thinking, yeah, this is probably the last time we'll see Frank Clark. The players are up at the podium. Like, they're on the stage, talking. You can hear in the background the conversation, and you can hear the Chiefs, like Andy Reid talking. And it's this camera zoomed in and focused on Frank Clark, who's slowly taking off all of his tape, sitting there crying, right? Just tears streaming down his face. He's won the Super Bowl again while also knowing, I'm taking these things off maybe for the last time ever. I don't know what the offseason is going to be like. But that was an interesting view, Kendall, because that had to be like so many emotions going through his body at once. I got another ring, what has been maybe the best 4 or 5 years of my career in this run, and winning a couple of rings and being this defensive leader is probably coming to an end, and maybe my career is over. This also may be the last time I'm ever in this moment. He's just going to sit there and sort of embrace it and crying while he's slowly taking his pads and everything off while everybody else is celebrating. It was just a moment by himself. The cameras captured it. Maybe that's invasive. I don't know. But I'm glad they did, because you see the true raw emotions there. The whole team is celebrating, and Frank Clark sort of, swirling with emotions at that point of elation and maybe sadness and I don't know what all was going on in his mind, but you could see it on his face that there was a lot working underneath.
Well, and you kind of got to me a little bit, because that then brought me back to my last year in the playoff game at Indianapolis that we lost. And I remember when that was done, I just kind of felt like that was it, and I thought I was taking my pads off for the last time. And it's tough. I mean, it really is. Even to this day, this many years later, I mean, just talking about that gets me choked up a little bit. So to deal with adulation and sorrow at the same time like he did and have that captured is pretty cool. But that is the NFL. I mean, it's very intense for so many different reasons. And I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but it is amazing.
Yeah, Kendall Gammon is our guest, and we talk about this Chiefs and Bills game, and obviously so much writing on the line and legacies and everything like that. I want to put this and get this out of the way quickly, Kendall, and then we'll move on to the matchup with the Bills. But as a former player and around other players, what's the conversation behind the scenes or with players when there's so much of a immediacy of blaming the refs for a win, talking about the reason the Chiefs won is because of the refs, the Texans saying they had to beat the Chiefs and the refs. On the winning side of that, is there a dismissal like, whatever, losers? Is there a, offended, sort of nature, as in like, hold on, you don't think we actually beat you straight up? Like, we needed help to beat you? How do players react to the commentary with the fans about refs favoring one team over another and teams getting breaks, and that's the only reason they won?
I think for the most part, Jason, the guys just deal with it and understand that that's just how, people see it, be it the fans or be it the players. And for the most part, I don't think take much offense to it or even pay much attention to it, because everybody knows in general, for the most part, the referees really don't decide the outcome of the game. Have there been times where some things really make a difference or there's some poor calls? Yeah, there's no doubt about that. But in general, even though you hear so much about it in the referees, I really think the referees in the NFL do a really good job, and I think most people think that. Now, when you've just lost a game and there were some questionable calls and you've got that emotion that we've just been discussing going on, it's almost not fair to take those quotes. I know you have to and want to. It makes for a good story. But in general, I think the guys get the fact that almost without exception, the officials really don't decide the game.
My concern for this week, and I don't know if this is going to happen, and I don't want it to become like a self-fulfilling prophecy or anything, or I'm so worried about it and then it happened. Like, I don't know. But my concern is that there has been so much conversation so many people writing about and talking about the Chiefs being favored by the refs. I'm concerned that on Sunday that they will make sure that they are conscientious and aware of what people are talking about. The refs I'm talking about,
Right.
what people are discussing, and they may be more intent on if it's close on the Chiefs calling it, and maybe it's pass interference on the Bills. Maybe we let that go. Could have been a 50-50 ball with Watson and Cooper, but I'm going to throw the flag here just so people don't think we're favoring the Chiefs. That's my concern, is not that, the Chiefs are going to get a good whistle. I don't care. The refs call it. But if the refs are calling it because they're worried about people saying that they're favoring the Chiefs, then I have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's fair. But the fact is, it really can't happen because all the refs are getting graded on every call that they make and every play and every call that they don't make. Okay, so I'm gonna be a Pittsburgh State homer here for a little bit. We still have 3 officials in the NFL. A couple of years ago, we had 4. That's the most that any school has or has ever had in the history of the NFL. And we had 4. 3 now. I know 1 has been assigned to the Super Bowl. Will be a linesman, I believe. But in general, having talked with those guys, you just can't do it because just like the players and being on film and putting your job in jeopardy, it's the same thing for the officials. They're getting graded each and every time. So as much as it kind of makes sense and you think that happens, and when it goes against you, then you can make up the narrative. It just doesn't in my mind. In my mind, there's no doubt that does not happen.
That makes me feel better. That makes me feel better because that's a great point about them being graded as well. And if you're going to get opportunities next year, and if you're going to be officiating in the playoffs, then throwing some questionable flags in the AFC Championship game because you think people are people are worried that you're favoring one side or the other doesn't seem the best way to keep advancing in your career. I would say it's a good point. Kendall Gammon is our guest. What do you think of this matchup, Kendall? Second time around, the Chiefs and Bills. Do you have an idea of how you think it'll play out, an advantage from the Chiefs in a certain part of this game and between these two teams?
I think the defense of Kansas City has to continue to be the one who shoulders the most of the win. I'd like to see the Chiefs, manufacture some points. It's the defense of Buffalo, I don't think is as good as it's been in the past. I think the offensive line of Buffalo is a strength. So Chiefs defense has to stop the run so they can get some one-dimensional Josh Allen and not, have the run dealing with that or not dealing with him. I think how they deal with him, how they spy him at times, and how they do with that, and that'll have a lot to do with, I think, the rush integrity and rush lanes of the defensive line, and making sure he doesn't get out, extend plays, and make plays with his arm and with his legs. I think that's the big deal. And I think the Chiefs will come up with something. I think offensively, Big Red probably has not shown everything. I don't think he had to against Houston. And then defensively, I think Spags will come up with something. Why do I think that? Because he normally does.
Because
and he's got 4 Super Bowl rings. So he's been doing something right for a long time.
All right. Do you have a score? Well, by the way, real quick, along with that, with Josh Allen, I feel like the Chiefs need to approach anytime they play the Bills, every time it's a first down for Buffalo, it's 1st and 9. You just have to approach it that way. Because 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, Josh Allen, the quarterback sneak is just, you're not stopping it. So you approach it's 1st and 9. So wherever the first down marker is, subtract the yard. It's 1st and 9. We got to stop them. We got to force 4th and 2.
And to that point, I think Sean McDermott now understands that you're going to have to go for those 4th downs. Yep. I think that's where he's really excelled as well.
Agreed.
So do I have a guess?
Score in mind?
Yeah. I'm going 24-23 Chiefs, and I think it's a walk-off field goal to win it.
Wow, man, my heart. Be still my heart, Kendall. 24-23 Chiefs. Kendall, you are the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. Thank you for the time. Enjoy the football, and we will talk next week, buddy.
Sounds good. Stay warm.
Absolutely. You too. There's Kendall Gammon joining us here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. He's got a 24-23 win for the Chiefs. We take a timeout. We come back, continue rolling more zone next. Holmes, Dylan Michaels, Mick Schaefer. Sterling, what's up, man?
Jerky, baby.
Yeah. I caught him in the middle of chewing a bite of food.
You know, it's Friday.
Pretty
Friday. It's a red
that
Friday.
I gave you jerky, and then you're going to do that and spin it back on me.
Dude, that was the irony of you giving me jerky and then me being a jerk is right there for you. It was laying there. I set it on the tee, and you swung and missed.
No. I'm just not that cheesy.
No, because you're peppery right there with the jerky.
Pretty good, though, isn't it?
I like
that
it.
pepper.
I like it. It was pretty good.
We did a story on a buffalo farm the other day, tying it into the Buffalo Bills
saw
coming
that.
in. And Gian, she came back with beef jerky from the
Bison
or
jerky.
Buffalo bison
So
jerky.
bison
I guess. I'm
jerky?
like, was this the guy I
Venison.
saw in the video? No, that was probably a brother or a cousin from a while back.
Was this the bison I saw
I
in the
was
video?
literally watching the video that Gian did and eating snapping off a piece. It was so good.
I will say, bison is really good. Bison chili, elite.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's
I don't
pretty
buy some
lean.
chili. I typically make it at home. You know, my wife and I make it, so you can buy some chili if you want to. But
See, that's why I said with the dad jokes, it's okay.
Okay.
We'll gloss over that. But no,
Thank you.
But big fan of bison. The issue is
I've
though
never had it.
when you see buffalo and bison, they're really cute, and then you feel bad because they're like big grass puppies.
Do you feel bad about cows or pigs or
I mean, how cute do they have to be before
Chickens
you?
or-
They're pretty cute, man.
Yeah.
Buffaloes are pretty cute because when they come out, they're small and all fur. They look like kind of like big dogs.
Yeah, we let them live for a while till they get
For a little bit,
Just
yeah.
don't give them names, man.
Aren't-
I grew
aren't
up on the
de-
farm. Don't give them names.
aren't
That's
deer
hard.
Aren't deer pretty cute?
Uh-huh.
I mean, deer seem to be as
Deer's
cute as,
good.
as
Yeah,
right. I mean,
cute
but
when
it's
they're dead too.
I don't think they're cute when they're dead.
Well, I mean,
they're
it's
good.
Well, you
not
gotta
like
eat 'em.
It's not like they use that facial expression. I mean, you hang them on the
know.
wall like that's
I know,
cute.
Oh, it's
You know.
Well, they
you got
can't,
a,
as
you got
long
a
as
nice
you eat
rack
'em.
up there.
Yeah, you do.
So,
There's rules and everything. You can't kill them all, but you just
How'd you-
kill enough to control the population.
Congratulations, man. How'd you land that rack? Huh? Had it in the bullseye for a good couple years. Finally got a hold of it.
Pull the trigger.
Met her in college. Oh,
Oh,
no, you're talking
no.
about the deer. Gotcha.
That
yeah,
one.
Yeah.
No, I just
Yeah.
got a lucky shot. I was actually shooting at a bird, and the deer walked in front of it. So,
Well, so I was about 12 beers deep.
doesn't seem to be a good start to the story there. In fact, that's not even a deer head up there,
I
is
was
it?
looking up the other day. You know the biggest bucks
Gimsbach.
shot in not pound wise but rack wise in like Kansas all time.
No.
Like a 14-point buck is big to me.
Yeah.
550
Yeah,
is huge. It's huge. 60 some.
What?
Yes.
How?
I think some of them just have just like
Was it the f-
deformed
Is
racks.
it the
and
first
just a
one
ton.
ever?
Moose or elk?
No.
That's
deer.
almost too big of a rack.
like 63.
That-
no
that-
such thing.
Yeah, I mean, you
Sterling.
get a rack reduction there with that one. If you need to put it on the wall there, was that the first deer ever?
That deer was double D's.
The first deer
Triple
ever
Ds.
with all of that there? That's 60
no.
of them?
Yeah. 60 some.
Wow.
I can't remember the pounds. But yeah, that was
That's crazy. That's sort of a novelty. with that. So the Bills and Chiefs play this weekend.
They
Mick.
do. I'm
not
aware.
Sure if you know that or not.
Are you gonna play something else on 41 or 30th spot? Are you gonna maybe play some political ads or
Last night for my 10 o'clock, we just did nothing else. There's no college basketball. It was a little bit of UMKC. They were playing Kansas City Roos, and we cover them mostly, but just didn't have time for it. Just so much Chiefs, so much Bills.
Yeah, road to New Orleans. Going
30
on.
minutes of that.
Yeah.
But even in the 10 o'clock, I couldn't squeeze anything else. I'm like, let's just ride this out. It's going to be all Chiefs.
Yeah.
There's so much content we got from the locker room and from Arrowhead. We're getting from Buffalo. It's there's a lot to talk about. You know the biggest stats that we're not talking about enough. You guys probably are, but overall,
Referees.
that's it. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
The Bills have gone 21 straight games without losing a turnover battle, which is amazing to me. Yeah. That seems like it's a record. That seems like it's a record. What doesn't seem like it should be a record, but is the Chiefs have gone 8 straight games without turning the ball over. That's it. That's all it takes in NFL history is 8 straight games. You're telling me some team in the 70s, the Steelers didn't get hot for about 15 straight?
Right.
No. 8 is it. That's it.
8 is enough. Well, it's
Especially
not enough. They need
ball
9.
control back then where you weren't throwing it 50 times a game.
The Bills have had, one turnover in the past 11?
Since Josh Allen threw the interception, they've had the one interception week 16 or something. I don't have it in front of me right now.
It's incredible, though.
And that's Patrick's last interception was against the Bills.
But both these two teams have been very efficient taking care of the football.
Yeah, it was almost like they played each other and they both realized afterward, like, okay, we're gonna see these guys again. We got to shore it up. Time to get serious, and they both have.
Yeah, the New England Patriots, the Buffalo Bills beat the Patriots 24-21. That's when the Patriots had that early lead, 14-0. Bills came back. Josh Allen threw an interception in that game. That's the only turnover that they have had since that interception to Shamari Connor on November 17th. They have had one in their last 8 games. So they've had one. The Chiefs have had 0.
And what a and really for both teams, what a script to be flipped, because the Chiefs have haven't always valued the football, right? On offense.
Especially during the regular season. In the postseason, it flips. I mean, that's what's so dumb about people claiming about well, look at these penalties. They're so penalized during the season, and then all of a sudden in the postseason, they don't get the penalties, whatever. Maybe
sloppier in the
maybe they're
season.
more disciplined. No, it's because the refs. Well, then explain turnovers, because the Chiefs in the last 3 years, when the starters play, averaged 1.5 turnovers per game. In that last 3 years time frame in the postseason, they've averaged 0.6 turnovers per game. They cut it in half. Huge. So is that the officials too? Or maybe, just maybe, when we add in the turnovers, there's more context to your stupid just whining.
Nope. Don't like nuance.
Which I also
hate
love
nuance.
I also love the Chiefs have been the 8th worst penalty differential team since 2021 in the NFL. It doesn't matter the amount of penalties; it's when they happen. The Chiefs have had fewer penalties in 11 straight postseason games. See, look, they're not penalized as much as the other team. This is proof. Pick a lane.
Yeah.
Pick a lane. The goalpost is moving more than Kaimi Fairbairn. Kaimi Fairbairn's staring at a goalpost that's moving back and forth. They're doing more of that than he was doing in his mind. Anyway, go ahead, Mick.
No, I'm saying, at this point, the conspiracy theory is very narrowed at this point. It's a very specific conspiracy, and as is the case in most conspiracy theories, you've latched onto one thing and you are ignoring a mountain of evidence to the contrary.
Absolutely. Like 11 of the 36 penalties called in Arrowhead Stadium the last 3 years have been false starts and delay of games. That's almost a third of all penalties. So it's look at this penalty discrepancy. Well, that explains the penalty discrepancy at Arrowhead, when 11 of the 36, almost a third of all penalties are not
hardcore
subjective.
Black and white, right? Objective.
They're not subjective
delay of
penalties.
game should be black and white, but it's...
Give me a break.
That's a good point.
Don't get me started on that.
That's a good point. Delay of game should be thrown out of there. That should not count. But
we look up and we give it a little bit.
When we think it's hit zero, we're going to look up. And then we're going to look back down to see if they snapped it yet.
But there's also
and they still won't throw. They're we'll give them another second. They might get this thing going.
But I'm also not counting in defensive offsides that Patrick Mahomes calls the illegal batting of the football. Who was that against a couple of years ago that fumbled right out of the gates and then kicked it out of bounds or something for the other team?
A lot of times these stats
that's a pretty obvious. Those are objective calls. Like when the guy's offsides at the snap, that's pretty objective. I'm not even counting those because that's not necessarily Arrowhead. but the Arrowhead factor in the playoffs is different than the regular season.
Well, and then, too, those are just accepted penalties they're adding up, right?
That's a good point.
To where there's been plenty of times where there's been a hold on the Chiefs and it's an incomplete pass. They're declining that, right? The good thing happens for them, so they don't have to take the good thing that is the penalty. And so that's, I mean, the number of penalties does not reflect the number of flags thrown. A lot of times you could have 6 flags thrown on one team and they have one penalty, one accepted penalty.
Right, and I had to knock this one out of the park yesterday with somebody that's latched on to, hold on, how does Juwan Taylor go from being the most penalized player in the league last year, and then 4 games he has a total of 4 penalties?
He gets better.
Really.
That's also 1 per game.
Right, he's the most. But here's the thing: he's the most penalized player in the NFL last year with 19 in 17 games.
So it's the same rate.
But also, in that time, because the guy was like, he went 10 quarters of postseason football without committing a penalty. Did you know that from week 6 to week 11, he went 15 straight quarters without committing a penalty in the regular season? So I don't know what changed. Maybe your evidence is dumb and you're not looking at the whole picture. If you're saying he's so penalized in the regular season, but ignoring the fact that he went 15 straight quarters without committing a penalty, and then saying, well, see, he's not penalized in the postseason because he had 10 separate quarters combined of not being penalized, you're just a doofus and another swing and a miss. But it's just fish in a barrel. That's what it's been this week. It's just fish in a barrel. You try to give an argument, knocked away. Come on, man. I'm just playing paper football here, just flicking it away. You guys are awful at this. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back, and we're going to get sad fans, Houston Texans. There is news for a lot of the sad fans that hate Bobby Slowick. They will be happier because Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator for the Texans, has been fired. That came down about 20 minutes ago.
Whoa.
The other news.
What?
Yep. The other news today. So last year, Bobby Slowick was a hot candidate to be a head coach. Now he's out the door. Now he got hot to trot out the door. But
when did this happen?
I just said 20 minutes ago.
Oh, 20 minutes ago.
Yep. Pete Carroll is the coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, and Taylor Rapp, the safety for the Buffalo Bills, has already been ruled out for the game with that hip injury. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and we will play Sad Fans Houston Texans. Oh, we'll find out what that's like next. Hey, have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings yet? If you haven't, then there's nothing to wait for. You need to get on it, man. The playoffs are here. Time is running out. There are 2 games this weekend and then the Super Bowl. And as the official daily fantasy sports partner of the NFL, DraftKings does fantasy sports like no one else. You play for better payouts with Pick 6. It's super easy to get started. You select 2 or more players, choose if they'll have more or less of a certain stat, and if you get them right, Sad Fans is coming up right now. And
give it an extra 5 seconds. It's my dad's favorite
Sad
part
Fans,
of the
Texas
week.
Edition live right now on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Done.
Normally
There
it's
we
on
go.
a Wednesday, right? We do this. On
No, we
Wednesday.
do it on a Friday, right
makes
before the
sense,
1
yeah.
o'clock
Nailed it.
hour. Each and every Friday before the 1 o'clock hour. All right, I said this at the beginning of the show that Sad Fans usually around 3.5 or 4 minutes. These they were sad. This is almost 6 minutes. It was hard to put things on the cutting room floor, so we just went a little extended here. Went a longer than we thought we would. Here is Sad Fans Houston Texans edition. And now things Texans fans said
like Costas.
on Reddit. And they can cry.
Give up that return, take your helmet off, and then fight the coach. Boyd just completed the triple crown of get f***ed. Boyd threw his helmet and then shoved Ross. Send that piece of shit to the XFL. Reply, I don't care where they send him as long as he's an ex-Texan. Please, God, take my ankles instead. I don't need them. CJ Stroud can have them right now.
Same thing with anything Mahomes interests.
Lining up Chris Jones over Fisher is a no-brainer. Leaving a rookie on an island against a Hall of Fame lineman is a fireable offense.
He got fired.
Can't settle for field goals. Reply, especially when they miss.
It's true.
I don't know what's worse, the officiating or Bobby Slowick's play calling. Reply, it's Slowick. We can't control what the refs call. Slowick at least has full control over his play sheet after he wipes his ass with it.
Why did he do that?
How the is a slow-ass mountain that wide open every play?
That's pretty good.
That's good.
Kansas City referees are tough to beat.
Original.
It's a lot of that.
Defense constantly has to play perfect because our offense sputters out. Reply, sputters out is a really nice way of saying sucks ass.
That is nice.
Gross.
Texans are winning every statistical metric except for penalties. LOL. Reply, and points.
That matters too.
Yeah.
I'm so
Sacks.
sick of these refs and our offensive line.
At least you added the offensive line.
I'm not a defensive expert, but why do they keep leaving 87 open? It doesn't seem to be working. Officiating has been awful, yes, but Aziz getting cooked by the YMCA knee pad wearing version of Travis Kelce is embarrassing.
Rec specs.
If Kelce doesn't get that big catch and we don't get that BS call against us, we're winning by 3. I'm coping hard. Reply, hey man, chop up a line of that copium for me. Make it a fat rail. My confidence is depleted.
Fat rail.
That's a fat rail.
Am I crazy for still feeling like we're going to win this game? Reply, you're good, but maybe look into drug rehab.
Not crazy. Just high.
It's my daughter's bedtime in Scotland. It's okay, though. I woke her up so she can make a tackle unlike these bums.
From Scotland?
Fire the offensive line coach and every one of these useless tools called an offensive line into the sun. CJ died on that field for you useless Why is there nobody between Mahomes and Kelce? Not a single person. Reply, there is. It's just that Shakir doesn't know he's playing football right now. Mahomes is a flopping and the refs can stay up all night peeing out kidney stones.
Oh, that's at least creative.
Painful.
That is.
Chiefs are not beating the Bills or Ravens. I don't care. Reply, yeah, we said that last year too. Reply, I'll say it again just to cope. I don't care.
Keep saying it.
The Chiefs, the refs, Mahomes, and our offensive line.
That's a common thread in
Yeah.
the post every week, I think.
D'Amico just coached that 4th down like I play Madden. It, let's go for it. Which play? I don't give a just pass it. Bobby Slowick is Owen Wilson on Wedding Crashers. They're bringing a blitz every play, and he has no clue what a hot route is.
Just stand over there.
That's great.
Great news, guys. CJ won't get sacked for another 7 months. We just need to get in the offseason and fix some of these holes so we can lose in the divisional round again. Guys, the real healing won't begin until this entire offensive coaching staff is fired. Then our personal journey can begin.
Just gotta find the...
I am sad from sports.
Hey. They did the thing.
And now the runner-up to things Texans fans said on Reddit. Maybe Fairbairn should try Foulbairn. Reply, not now, dude. And now the winner of things Texans fans said on Reddit. Well, at least I'll be a lot less stressed being a Bills or Ravens fan next week.
There you go. Ravens or a Texans fans, sad fans. So
there are no fan bases cheering for the Chiefs next week.
None.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you're, or maybe for Commanders or Eagles, you're like, I would rather play the Chiefs than the Bills.
No, because they get all the calls, so you don't want to do that.
I think the Ravens, because the Ravens don't want to see Josh win a Super Bowl or go to one before Lamar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, but they'll all be enjoying it from the couch. The order will go Travis Kelce, George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, Xavier Worthy, and Harrison Butker.
Just like a third of the team. Just go ahead and
roughly, give or take a few.
Yeah. We had we had a list of guys who weren't at the podium.
Yeah.
Who are substantial. They starters are on the field, and who we could get in the locker room over the last couple of days. And the first day there were a lot of guys in there. The second day they were on to us. It was kind of a ghost town in there.
They were gone. Chiefs players for Mick Schaefer and KSHB 41.
Apparently not.
Hey, Mick.
I like talking to you. You could have called me up.
Thank you, but you weren't in the locker room.
So as we wait for Andy Reid to get to the podium, Cincinnati has lost their minds. Just simply lost their minds. So Grader's is an ice cream company in Cincinnati, very famous. They've been there since like the 1800s. Grader's Ice Cream has teamed up with Skyline Chili for a Skyline Chili flavored ice cream. They have lost their mind. And here's Andy Reid.
All right. No injuries to report. Again, look forward to the challenge of playing the Bills. Heck of a football team, well coached, and great players. So, time's yours.
Coach, what's your final message to the players Sunday before kickoff?
Just be themselves. Go play. Be themselves.
Coach, you had DJ Humphries completely off the injury report this week. Is the plan still to stick with Joe at left tackle, or is it possible that DJ plays?
Yeah, we've been rotating him again, which we do in practice, but he'll probably end up being the same.
I know you guys try to keep everything the same, and you've done a really good job of that over the years, but does this feel any different for you, the championship game?
That's a loaded question because it feels different than a regular game because of you're in the championship game, but at the same time we try to keep things as consistent as you can with all the extra this and but no, you understand that there are two teams in the AFC, two teams in the NFC playing, and that's it. So yeah, you get it.
As far as practice and player schedules and that kind of thing, is it pretty much a normal week though of any other Sunday?
Yeah, normal week.
Andy, I wonder if you could think back to 7 years ago, the first time some of these guys went to an AFC Championship game. The mood in the locker room, the confidence, just the atmosphere as they prepare, how different is that from 2018 to now?
Yeah, listen, you'd have to ask them. I mean, they've all reacted the same way. They've come out and they've practiced hard and try to get themselves ready the best they can. I mean, I haven't noticed a big difference other than they know what the schedule is and they go with it, So.
But were there more nerves maybe back 6 years ago?
Yeah. Like I say, I'm not sure how to quantify that. Just I didn't get in there and look at that part of it. I mean, the guys, they'd probably all be different on how you weighed that out.
At this level, Coach, do coaches feel, I'm not talking about you necessarily, but in general, do NFL coaches feel the pressure at this point?
I don't know if it's the pressure. I think it's just that you're excited to get going. Just like the players will be excited to get going, you're excited to get going. I mean, it's great competition when you get to this level, and that's why you're in the business. So, best against the best.
Andy, I didn't get a chance to talk to him after the game on Saturday. What do you think is the biggest takeaway that Mike Caliendo gathered from starting his first playoff game? And if it is indeed the same on Sunday, how he might use that to his and your guys' benefit against the Bills?
Yeah, not much seems to rattle him. He's a smart kid and kind of gets in and does his job. He saw what Allegretti did last year, stepping in, and I think he just handles it. And if he's going, then he's going. So.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Good. All right. Thank you.
So it seems like he's probably going.
Yeah.
That he says it'll probably end up being the same with the Joe Thuney and Caliendo. I thought maybe there would be more of a chance of doing it this week because of some of the struggles and the strength of the interior of the defensive line for the Buffalo Bills as opposed to the Texans' strength being on the edge.
Yeah.
But nope, going with Thuney and Caliendo.
Once I saw him at the podium, I'm like,
yeah,
he's at the podium because he's the left tackle. Trey Smith, a great guard, is not at the podium.
Yes, true.
Guard.
Yes.
Rousseau is ranked 15th, though, on the edge out of 119 edge rushers, but Ed Oliver 18th, and then Daquan Jones very good as well on the inside.
Yeah.
AJ Epinosa is just
struggles.
More of a guy at this point.
Von Miller's
Von Miller,
is much better than the Epinesa player, and Rousseau is having a breakout year. So Rousseau is the one that gave the Chiefs a lot of problems in Buffalo in Week 11 against Wanya Morris. So hopefully Joe Thuney fares better against Rousseau, and the interior of that offensive line does enough to limit Ed Oliver's impact, as dominant as he can be. So thought maybe there was a chance if you put Thuney back at guard to limit the Jones and Oliver combination in the interior.
Same thing, yeah.
But going with what they've been going with, and that is Thuney at left tackle, Caliendo at left guard.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And that's what they're doing right now. It hasn't been broke, since they've been in the starting lineup. They haven't lost a game since those guys have been in the starting lineup. Now, they've only lost one all year with the starters, but that's neither here nor is it there.
They only lost one with Wanye and Kingsley playing.
That actually is pretty wild when you think about it, right?
Yeah, the referees, every single referee this year, except for the one that officiated the Bills game, is undefeated when they've done the Chiefs game this year. So people don't realize that it's so skewed. The question about 2018 to now, like, nerves or anything like that, there are 6 players on this team that were on that 2018 team.
I could name them.
Go.
Patrick Mahomes.
Nope.
Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
James Winchester.
Winchester.
Him third. Harrison Butker.
Right. Yep. 2 more.
Chris Jones. And Derek Noddy.
Noddy.
Wait, McCole Hardman, too.
But he
left and came back.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah. Yep, McCole, we're going to count him. So that means it's 7 now.
He's got 2 asterisks.
No, McCole wasn't on.
He's on IR.
McCole was drafted after 18.
No, he wasn't. He was on the 18 team.
Yeah.
He was drafted in 18.
I think you're.
Oh, no. Okay.
No.
Sorry. I was thinking the Super Bowl.
No,
you were talking about
I'm talking about
18
the AFC
run?
Championship game.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, he was drafted in 19.
Yeah, because I was going to say.
I was thinking Super Bowl. He was on Super Bowl, but not the.
The Tyreek
18,
stuff happened after that.
Derek
Patriots
Noddy,
game.
though, was drafted. Shockingly brilliant.
Been around forever.
Here's Travis Kelce.
Been in these games for so long. What's the message you send to the team as they get ready for this, and just making sure that we try to take things as normal as possible for such a big game?
I mean, honestly, it's just it's the mindset and your devotion to your craft. Everybody understands the stakes and everything that we got at hand going against these Bills. So it's just making sure you're showing that you're going to work more now than ever.
When you won the second one, you had said this one matters almost more because it kind of proves you're able to do this. As you look at this potential championship, whatever happens, what would that mean for the legacy of what you guys have been able to build?
I mean, I'm just excited for the challenges I get in this game, man. I'm very appreciative of the opportunities that I have, and this is one of the biggest challenges that we've ever had. So I'm excited at attacking that. Travis,
I know you studied the defense mostly, but I'm sure you see Josh Allen play. I just wondered if you could speak to just the appreciation of the Bills' offense is quite a bit different than it used to be. His ability to adapt and still be productive in sort of any environment.
Yeah. Josh is who I used to dream about being like in the NFL. Big, athletic quarterback, big arm, being able to be a dual threat guy. I never had the arm talent that Josh had, so they kicked me over to tight end. And, his ability to do everything, obviously you could tell he's really took the bull by the horns and really been their leader up front. And channeled that. Guys come in and out of the building, and he's the main piece in there making that thing go week in, week out. And I got so much respect for that guy.
Travis, against the Texans, do you actually feel refreshed energy-wise from this time off in some way you can quantify it? And with that, how much is playoff energy?
Man, I'll tell you what, it's just it's something that you got to build together. I think it brings everybody closer together in the building. You get that time off, but everybody's working their tail off leading up to these big moments and these big games. I was joking with everybody, man. I was wishing the season would just fast forward when we're in November, man. I want to start playing meaningful competition, and it's just it's so much fun being in here with a coach like Andy Reid who lets everybody show their personalities, and it really just bonds everybody a little bit tighter.
And just your own legs, just how it felt running out there that day. Did you feel any different than 3 weeks before or a month before?
When I'm out there, I'm running at full speed, but I guess some of the broken tackles, you could say I had some more fresh legs than typical.
said Scoop be the fountain, not the train.
Yeah, my college coach, Bush Jones, said that one.
Are there any other like positive mantras like that that you think about,
Then,
especially weeks like this where you're headed into a big game, you just try to keep that energy up?
I mean, it's really just become a culture here. I'm not the only one doing it. Everybody does it here, and it's a fun group to be around, especially when you add some of the younger guys in. You get a new, fresh kind of feel to the locker room, and it's just everybody keeps you like in tune and keeps everything new and fresh, and it's a fun atmosphere to be around.
Sorry, this is a little off-game topic, but earlier this week, Javion with Operation Breakthrough, you gave him the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you could speak to that, and your relationship with Javion.
Well, Javion, I've known him since he was literally, I think it was second grade at Operation Breakthrough. Him and his family, who he's been through the program, and now that he takes advantage of, everything that the city has to offer, everything that the Ignition Lab has to offer. He has his own clothing brand. So he's done a lot of cool things with his life, and it's just cool to see him be a leader to his brother, to set a good example, and show everybody in the community exactly what Operation Breakthrough and the Ignition Lab can offer.
Last two, right here.
Travis, how do you feel like you've grown as a player since your first AFC Championship game till now? And then with your teammates, some who haven't been in this situation before, what are you telling them, or what type of message are you giving them to make sure that you've been on both ends of the game, that you come out on the top end of it?
Well, just don't let the lights, blind you. It's a big moment. You're going to hype it up yourself because you've been dreaming about moments like these. And the biggest thing is that you're good enough. You don't got to be anybody that you're not. You don't got to force yourself to be greater than who you are. We work our tails off to be exactly what who we are. And it's just it's just time to go out there, have fun, and just cut it loose. Don't let the lights, shorten your steps or stutter your feet.
Travis, you talking about fresh leg just a little bit ago. When you hear he's washed, or he's slower than he used to be, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel any kind of way?
No, I laugh at it. It's fun, man. As long as I'm going out there and we're winning, baby, that's all that matters.
Thank you, Travis.
Have a good one, guys.
All right, there's Travis Kelce. We will hear from coming up next. I believe George Karlaftis will be at the podium. Trent McDuffie or George Karlaftis. So we'll see who is next. But Travis Kelce talking about the three-peat. Excited. This will be the biggest challenge we've had, is what he said. And Josh Allen is who he dreamed about being.
I got a fun exercise if we have time, but not now.
I don't have to do that. McDuffie does it. He's next.
Travis just said he wishes he could be Josh Allen. When you see Josh Allen on the defensive side of the ball, I'm sure it's got to be a lot different perspective for you. So just facing him over years, what do you think about just the challenge of facing Josh Allen?
Yeah, I think everybody here knows kind of the player that's coming into play. Really strong arm, can really just do it all, make all the throws, can run the ball very well. And this year you can kind of see just his confidence, you know what I mean? Making smarter decisions, not turning the ball over as much, and he's really got that offense rolling. So we know it's going to be a big challenge, but we played him a few years, so I know what he's about.
Trent, how did you feel Jalen looked in his return, and are you eager to see him get some more snaps this week?
Yeah. I was really excited, you know what I mean? Especially someone coming back from an injury like that. It can be hard, you know what I mean? Your confidence a little down. I haven't played football in a while, and coming into it, big playoff game, you know what I mean? The atmosphere is rocking, and I think he handled himself really well, you know what I mean? I went down, he's able to jump in there quick in the game, and you can just see him just battle all night, and that confidence starting to restore. And I know I love seeing him over there across from me, so hopefully you get a little from a few more plays, but yeah, I did a great job.
A week before, you mentioned how excited you were to face Nico Collins, given how talented he is.
Yeah.
Do you have similar impressions, similar feelings with Shakir, given his ability to be good on the outside and in the slot?
Yeah, Shakir's one of them, but both Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper are both great receivers that you got to respect, you know what I mean? Anybody that they implement in this offense, I feel like can be a threat, especially with Josh Allen at quarterback. So not looking over anybody and knowing just how they're going to bring that energy and how they play in these big games is going to be everything. How we control our attitude, how we control the flow of the game, and making sure that we do our job on the back end, and everything else will figure itself out.
Sherman, you talked about Josh making smarter decisions. Obviously, his turnovers are down. What ways does it pop on film whenever you watch him play that he's making smart decisions, being safe with the ball?
Yeah, really, I think it just comes down to just the scrambling. You know what I mean? When you look back in the past, he is one of those guys that is obviously going to get out of the pocket, is going to use his feet really well and buy time for his receivers. And in the past, he may take a few deep shots or just throw the ball out there, just having this guy make a play. And this year, he's either just tucking it and running it, or if you don't see it, kind of just throwing it away. And for me, that just shows growth. You know. Not really. You know what I mean? During the season and stuff, kind of go. And once off season comes, it's kind of like, okay, on to the next, you know. But I definitely feel like just this past week, talking with Dion Bush, I remember yesterday, he kind of sat back and kind of looked at all of us and was just like, do you know just how unheard of it is to be in the AFC Championship 7 times, you know, year after year after year? And just hearing guys like that, or just even guys like DeAndre Hopkins coming in here and just being like, oh, it's like the first time I've gone this far in the playoffs. It's unique, and you definitely sit back and go, okay, yeah, this is an opportunity for me that not a lot of people get to do, so it makes you just want to go out there and fight even harder.
You got friends around the league who are jealous? You hear from them?
You know, all my friends really ain't that jealous, you know what I mean, which is great to be a part of. I think they definitely understand just the situation I'm in. But I feel like a lot of the guys around the league, it's more of a respect thing, you know what I mean? Knowing that I'm able to provide for this team, knowing I'm out there making plays and being a factor on this team, on this defense, I think goes a long way for them.
Couple more. In front, he runs the ball a lot. Sometimes design runs and scrambles you talk about. What's the challenge like for defensive backs to be a part of tackling him when he gets out there on the edge?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, you know this defense and you know Spag's philosophy, just about the DBs, corners, setting edges, coming into the run game. And I think this week is another one of them games where everybody is needed, you know. When he's scrambling, DB's got to plaster on the back end and make sure your receiver's not running down the field. And when he does tuck in a run, you have to come up and make a tackle in the open space and doing things that Coach Spags would call my job plus, you know what I mean? Doing your job while also making sure that if somebody else messes up or if there's an opportunity for you to do your job and make a play, to do those things, because this is the moment for it.
Last one, Nate.
Sure. What is now that you have played in the postseason both home and away, what's your biggest impression of what Arrowhead provides for you all and just how much of an advantage it is when the game is at its most important?
Yeah. I mean, I always talk about energy, you know what I mean? And last year being in away games, I never felt like our energy lacked, you know what I mean? Because I think our team as a whole already just has so much energy and we already know what we need to do and go on the field. But when you get to go out there and it's a 3rd and short or it's a red zone 4th down and, you know, that heart's pumping and you just feel the moment. It's nice having 60, 70,000 people rooting for you compared to the other way around. So I just say the energy and just makes the game a little more fun. You know what I mean? You're from the home crowd, your family's all here, and just everybody's all in it together.
Thanks, Trent.
Yep, appreciate y'all.
All right, there's Trent McDuffie and Josh Allen. Interesting talking about Josh Allen saying he looks more confident when they play him this year. A guy that used to run around and just buy time for his receivers, and saying now he's tucking it and running it more and saying that actually shows growth. Here is Charles Omenihu.
Charles, a lot of people come off the injury you had. Sometimes it takes a long time to get back to full strength. I guess you seem to be faster than that. How do you feel like you've been able to accomplish that and look like the same player?
Tiffany Morton and Greg. Those two have been like very, very essential on like my comeback from this injury. And then God at the forefront of it all. I've had a lot of nights where I've prayed about this and my recovering and being at where I need to be to help this organization win big games, and it's happened. I hope it continues to happen because that's truly what I want, to be able to give back to everybody that has been patient with me and my time here.
How difficult was it for you not to play in the Super Bowl last year?
It was tough. It was tough, super tough. It being my former team, it being the biggest stage you can play on, and big stage is what I thrive on, what I love, what I want, what just keeps me like searching for the next thing to do is to play in big moments and make plays. So it was tough. It was crazy. But hopefully, we get the opportunity to do it again. And I've had a couple anxious nights where I'd be up till 1 o'clock in the morning listening to music, just telling myself everything gonna be good. Help me leading up into this game, cause it's gonna be when we do play, it'll be 363 days from when I got hurt. So it's a big thing for me personally, and that energy will be channeled to making a few plays out there on that field.
Charles, you knew exactly the days, 363 days.
Mm-hmm.
Has this been a count in your head internally just since that last game with Baltimore?
Somebody mentioned it to me, and then I was like, damn, it has been it's coming up for real. So I just been praying a lot, you know what I'm saying, making sure I'm doing everything that I can to be physically up to par for what it's going to take to win this game.
I don't know if just a lot of folks talk about Josh Allen and he does, but he's got a great line in front of him to protect him. What are the things that they do well and make it so difficult to get him?
They work well together. Games and stunts, they man them up, so it's kind of hard to pick them off and do things like that. And they obviously know who their quarterback is, so they know where they're protected at as far as how guys are going to rush. So that's I think the biggest thing I see. They have a really good set of tackles. David Edwards, I remember him when we were training in LA. And then their younger dude, 64, big, I think he's really good. And the center is a veteran, has been around. So they have guys that on that line that understand who their quarterback is, understand the assignment, and they do their job. But they only allowed 13 sacks in the regular season. So.
And just how about your thoughts on Josh Allen? He's a different kind of cat.
I think he's a beast. I think Josh Allen is top 5 in the league, bar none. I think this has been his best year. I have the utmost respect for him, to be honest. I think he's a baller, bro.
Charles, how important is rush lane discipline going to be this week?
It's very important. You guys say everybody plays him, but I think I don't think you can just pitter pat with the line. Then you have to be aggressive but smart at the same time. There's a balance that you gotta have.
Charles, a lot of people taking notice of George Karlaftis' motor, so to speak. I wonder what it is you see in him that has enabled him to do what he does.
I think it's more than that. They try to box George in as a motor guy, high effort guy, but he's a skilled rusher. He's a skilled rusher. He knows what he does well and beats guys with it, and he showed up in the playoffs when it matters most. I just tell George, join the party and strip the ball. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But George is a great player. He can rush, he can play the run, complete guy, can drop. So he's done everything that this organization has asked and has been consistent since he got in.
Couple more. Anything else? Thanks, Charles.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, there's Charles Omenihu, and talking about the exact number of days. He said 363, but I think it's 365 because they played on January 28th last year against the Ravens, and they will play January 27th, right? Oh, no, it's the 26th. So it'd be 364 because it's a leap year.
You're not saying today?
No, he's saying, but when they play, he said it'll be 363. But they play on the 26th.
They played on the 28th
Sunday.
last year?
They played on 20, and it was a leap year.
Okay,
All I know is at 362 days, you wouldn't be ready.
364.
He didn't factor in the leap year.
Yeah, what is he doing?
Or maybe
Why is he not factoring in a leap year? What the hell? I mean, it's we leaped this last year. It was a whole year of leaping.
You're leaping to conclusions right now is what you're doing.
You're being you're a picky little bee right now is what you're doing.
I'm just saying, man.
Picky
12 days of
little bee.
Christmas still on my mind about all these lads of leaping. I'm not sure. I can't remember which things were leaping. But Charles Omenihu, hopefully he is leaping on the back of Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
But says so much respect for him. He's a beast. Top 5, hands down. This is the best year he's had. The Chiefs have shown nothing but respect to the Bills, and it feels like the Bills have done the same thing this week. There hasn't been the chatter that's going on. There hasn't been the Ravens going to be the tougher team and bully them. Hasn't been the Burrowhead BS. Here's Xavier Worthy.
One of the guys who hasn't been multiple straight games.
Oh man, it's a different feeling just to have the opportunity to play a game that leads to the Super Bowl. There's always been a dream of mine playing the Super Bowl and just eventually get a Super Bowl ring.
Your NFL career began with a trade with the Bills. The Chiefs traded up to get you. What do you remember about that moment? Obviously, the Bills were on the clock, and then suddenly weren't from your perspective.
I mean, I take it as a blessing, and I feel like it's a sign that they didn't want me. So at the end of the day, I'm going to play with my chip on my shoulder. This game means a little bit more. I mean, obviously it's an AFC Championship game, but this is a team that traded their pick away to get somebody else.
And then it sounds like, from what Holmes says, and you said before, the Bills were sort of your breakout game. How do you feel like you built and stacked from that game forward heading into this one?
I feel like I just kept stacking every game. All the vets like Pat, Trav, D-Hop, Juju. I mean, having guys like that makes it real easy just to give you insight on the game and just learning from them and keep taking tools from them. I mean, I can't preach it enough. Just learning from D-Hop. As D-Hop says, I'm kind of like the little brother. So just getting knowledge from them is just going to keep expanding my game.
What stands out to you about the game against Buffalo a couple months ago?
I mean, we left a lot out there on the field. I mean, we just got to execute and just continue with our game plan.
Xavier, you connected with Patrick on a deep route again against Houston. Just over that, from that Buffalo game on, just an evolution, you guys being able to connect and now getting to a point where you're really showing up on not just the stat sheet, but just making an effect on the game. How's that evolution gone to the point where you're able to connect with those deep routes, connect with other guys?
Yeah, like I said, just having the insight from the older guys and just understanding. I mean, talking to Trav all the time. I mean, he has the best connection with Pat, probably the best connection in the league. So just having a feel for what Trav likes and Pat likes, I mean, just playing off of them, it makes it real easy.
Xavier, has it always been natural for you to be able to track a deep ball? And either way, what do you think the key is to being able to do that? Because not everybody can.
Yeah, so in college, me and my guy, AD, you know the little Monarchs, the Monarchs machine that shoots by itself? So we used to do that every day after practice for like 2 hours and stuff. So we just got like real familiar with tracking the ball.
Was that a breakthrough for you? I mean, before that, it was not natural?
Nah, I mean, it was natural, but it has to.
A lot of people talk about rookie wall and all that stuff. This is obviously the most amount of games you ever played. How do you feel physically? Did you ever have a spot during the season where you're like, this really is a lot?
I feel perfectly fine.
Anything else? Thanks, Xavier.
All right, there's Xavier Worthy, feeling good, getting ready for this game, but said about the trade, said that was a sign they didn't want me. I'll be playing with a chip on my shoulder. They wanted somebody else. And they traded that pick away. They wanted Keon Coleman, I guess. And then talking about tracking the deep ball, little Tony Gonzalez there when he says every day after practice at Texas, he would spend 2 hours tracking the deep ball. Who's up now? Xavier. It wasn't it. Here's Xavier Worthy more.
Thanks, everyone.
There we go. He had one more, and that's when he said the real stuff.
Yeah,
that's when the big bucks start rolling in.
It was all trash talk?
It was weird. Why did they...
couldn't even play it on radio. It was...
Wow. I mean, it was that...
Wow.
Interesting. No, you're right, Dylan. They said thank you. I'm with you. Is that okay? Anybody else? Thank you.
I love Dylan in the back, in our ear, to be like,
Dylan's
guys, he said you have my back, right? They said thank you.
They said thank you. All right, they said thank you. It was very courteous. I heard the thank you. I didn't ignore it. I even said you're welcome, and
it's
they
not
couldn't
my
even
fault,
hear me.
Right? Right, guys? It's not mine.
And they can. It's not Dylan's fault. It's not his fault.
And that was just the point we were making.
Can he get asked another? Can they ask him another question? And they can. Just the point we were making. Xavier Worthy, still there.
What an underrated part of this season that the slight of build Xavier Worthy has been healthy throughout when every other receiver seemingly has gone down.
Right.
165 pounds has been upright this entire time.
Also, I just love the idea of the tracking the ball was natural, but we spent 2 hours every practice tracking it over and over
What
and
machine
over and
was
over.
he talking about?
I don't know what the machine was. I've
So
always
someone's
noticed-
arm.
Well, I mean, it could be the ones that send the punts.
Maybe that's it.
I mean,
but I thought it was just
the jugs machine. I don't
pointed
know.
upward.
Is there a different type of machine that's not the jugs? Is it the mugs machine? I'm not sure. But
he called it something.
I know. I didn't write it down. I usually write those things down. I didn't write it down this time, and that's the one you want.
Can he write it down?
The Monarch machine. That's right. I was thinking because it was the Monarchs. I was like, Casey, Monarchs have a machine.
Look up a
for
Monarch
football?
machine. Football.
Look up the Monarch machine. Monarchs were a
It's like a
machine back in the
butterfly.
day.
It's
They were-
essentially the pitching, or the receiver version of the pitching machine that MLB teams have, where they can actually program this thing to throw lefty, certain spirals, quarterbacks, things like that. And it's also an auto fill thing, so they don't have to have a guy there.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So the jugs, you've got to have somebody there. So that's what he said. I can be. I can. Whether he said autofill or you don't need to have somebody else there, but working on
Looks like
tracking the
there's
deep ball.
6 footballs that can fit in this thing. It's almost like a gun type situation.
So like a jugs machine,
like
or
an
like
old, it's like an old time pistol.
Yeah,
like
I don't
a
think
revolver.
I don't think a football would fit in there.
I don't.
What are the size of these footballs that they're using?
Receiver,
maybe a rocket launcher.
Receiver would have been the position I wanted to play in college, and I would have worked the hardest at. If it's just catching footballs, I could have done that for 2 hours after every practice. Catching stuff, so much fun. If I was an offensive lineman, no extra work. No, wait, I guess I'm just working on steps and maybe hitting a sled and pushing people. Now I'm done.
Oh, dude, it looks
I'm
like
done at the end of
it looks
practice.
like a Gatling gun.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like.
I deleted it.
It looks like a Gatling gun, man. What are you talking about? Have you not seen Terminator 2?
It does kind of also look like an old time large revolver, like the kind that you would just throw. You know, you'd
Sure, yeah.
You just hit down on it, it would spin.
Yeah,
and you look
play
really cool in westerns.
Russian roulette. You got one bullet in there.
Never did it.
We could do it in here.
No, we can't. Actually,
Do you have a gun?
No.
No, but let's not do it. We are though
Who's
waiting
gonna be the host
for
of the
George
show?
Karlaftis and Harrison Butker.
2 more.
We are definitely doing that. Still waiting.
Hey, a fun exercise that we could perform.
Whatever you guys have been talking about just then, not fun. But you mentioned there was an exercise we should do.
Ranking the 7 opponents they faced in the AFC Championship game the last 7 years. I have my list.
Fun.
Sterling kind of started on his. We did one with Pete Sweeney on the show the other day. It was a lot of fun. I was close to Pete, but not in lockstep with him. And so I've got
Interesting.
I think this is off the top of my dome. This is 2.
This is my 2.
This is 2.
your 2.
Ravens are number 1.
Oh,
yeah?
No, I was going to say the
Not
Patriots.
the Patriots?
Oh, duh. I was sorry.
the
I'm
Ravens
in
last
my
year,
mind
number
thinking
1?
Patriots, but the Ravens were a better team than this Bills team last year.
The Ravens,
and it was on the road.
It's the Ravens in the playoffs.
But it was on the road, and they're a
I
better
will say
team.
that's
Where do
3.
I
I'll give you 3.
No,
for that.
I have Ravens as 5.
Really? Who do you got ahead of the?
Both Bengals.
The second Bengal team was better than the first one. But I don't think they were as good as the Ravens team last year.
Yeah, I actually have, the second Bengals team, the one they won, ahead of the one they lost.
100%.
They were up 18 points on that team.
The second Bengals team was better than the one
so
before.
I have them at 3, 22 Bengals at 3, 21 Bengals at 4, 23 Ravens at 5. I think 3 through 5, or 1 and 2 are its own tier, 3 through 5 are another, and then the bottom 2, I have 2020 Bills at 6.
Yeah.
Tannehill is your last. 2019 is Titans.
Yeah. That was a one-dimensional team, just pound Derrick.
But yeah, I'm
Henry,
with you. Like the team they actually beat, I thought was better than the team that beat them, the Bengals.
I think the Ravens last year was a better team than this Bills team. Now, the variance is different because the Bills...
Well, I hope that Bills score less than the Ravens.
Well, I do too.
Points
I
last year.
totally do too. I totally do too. I am with you because if the Bills score less than 10 points...
I like
then
the Chiefs. I
feel
really
good
like
about
the Chiefs. Yeah.
We're going to sneak a timeout in, and we're gonna come back. We're not going to waste one in the first half here. So
that's how it always works.
We need to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll review the. What'd you say, Dylan? What'd you say? You say what? You're pointing. You're talking, miming.
No, I didn't say.
We
anything.
can record
I
it,
was
right?
I was having a break conversation early. That's on me. We can still go to break. It wasn't anyone.
You guys are
back.
stalling critical seconds here.
Veteran, the sailor.
Oh, yeah, he's done it
that
before.
guy
Yeah, I
is
know what you're talking about. Yeah,
incredible.
the booming voice.
Yes.
Voice. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I didn't realize he's a Chiefs fan,
Okay.
but he is a Chiefs fan, and so he'll be doing the national anthem. And he talks about when he does it in Kansas City, the chills as he's getting ready to say, home, and then hearing the home of the Chiefs and everything.
Why doesn't he say Chiefs one of these times? That would be fun.
Oh, my goodness, I don't know. So holding pattern out there, and we will go through what we think will happen in the game and give our predictions. So,
oh, man, it's tough.
1.5 still. Here's what Curtis brought this stat up yesterday, not to influence you guys any way, shape,
I see
or form.
2.5 on one of them.
Where? Where are you at seeing 2.5?
I don't know if I should say the one. It's the one I'm always on.
Oh,
right here.
Let's see. Oh, wow, that's gone up in the last 2 hours.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, so I
thought the Bills would be favored.
Here's what's funny is I was getting ready to say the stat that Curtis said yesterday that almost 3/4 of all the money so far bet on this game have been bet on the Bills, yet the line stayed exactly the same at 1.5. Meaning Vegas is like, oh, keep throwing money. We're not going to move the line. Keep throwing money on the Bills. Go ahead, keep putting money on.
Vegas is kind of betting on this game too.
We ain't moving the line here. We think the Chiefs are winning this thing. That's why we installed them as the favorites, and 3/4 of all the money's coming in on Buffalo.
And now
they haven't moved it.
Now they're taking it.
Now they're taking it to 2.5. Maybe if they can find a middle there somewhere. But that's pretty interesting that over 5 days or 4 days worth, all of this money on Buffalo, and the Vegas is like, not moving it, keeping it exactly right here at 1.5. So that's certainly good news that so many people are like, Bills are winning, Bills are winning, Bills are winning. Chiefs, wrong team favored, whatever. So let's get into the game and our predictions of what we think will happen. Sterling, you'll go first this week. What do you think, bud?
Yeah, so I think it's
10-7?
I have so much respect for Buffalo. I think they're a really good team. I think they're playing good playoff football. I think they finally understood how to win in the playoffs. Just the issue is they can't get past Kansas City. I think special teams, I know it seems common and maybe a little overblown at times. I think special teams plays a big factor. I trust Harrison Butker. Can you trust Tyler Bass? I have the Chiefs in the under winning this game 24-23. I think
24.
this is maybe one of those situations where Tyler Bass has gone wide right, maybe overcompensates and goes wide left.
Kendall Gammon, because you're a copycat.
No!
Picked 24-23, but said Butker game winner goes through as time expires, and they were down 23-21.
How far is that game winner? 50 plus?
5-yard field goal, he said. That was odd.
Amazing.
He's actually
He has to line up behind
right
it and to kick a curve there. All right, Mick, we head to you. Sterling's got 24-23. The Chiefs do not cover the spread. That would snap their streak of 7 straight playoff games covering the spread if they do not cover it this one. Mick, you're up.
Go back and forth on it. I mean, these two teams aren't afraid to put a lot of points up on each other over the years. So that was my initial thought. Then I'm like, both teams have been ball control offense this year. A lot of time, long drives. The Chiefs set the record for most 10-plus play drives. Bills are kind of right there with them there. But I back and forth and back now on they're going to score points. That's where I'm at. And it's going to be Chiefs offense unleashed. They have been playing the whole season for this moment. And same with the Bills. I like the Chiefs winning 30-27.
30-27. Dylan.
Take the over.
Yeah, you got 57 there. Sterling's got 47.
Give me the under.
That's at 48 and a half.
48 and a half?
Yep,
Yeah,
48 and a
I'm
half.
taking
Started at 48 and a half, went down to 47
I don't
and a
think
half.
weather's going to be
Now
a
back up.
factor like
No,
it was
it's gonna be
last
nice.
week.
Yeah. Dylan?
Give me 23-22 Chiefs.
Ooh.
One-score games.
Yeah.
So we had 24-23 and 23-22 and 24-23.
And 30-27. This is one to where I actually think
37-17?
Yes. 5-3, actually. I'm really excited about this. Chiefs and Buffalo. But do they have a minor league team in Buffalo? Not sure. In baseball, I mean. So this is one where I think if the game last week was played in nicer weather, the Ravens win. I think there was a little bit of like the Lamar fumble, the Andrews fumble. That ball was pretty slick. I think the Ravens were the better team. I think the Chiefs are the better team than the Bills. I know people have loved up the Bills most of the year, but the Chiefs, as healthy as they are, playing the defense that they are, and the Bills being injured, These are two teams, Mick, that you mentioned it. They don't turn the football over, but the Chiefs find ways to get it done. They've got the better coach, the better play caller, the better defensive coordinator, the better quarterback. They have the best receiving threat.
Better skill position players.
They have the first and second best defensive player in the game in Chris Jones and Trent McDuffie. They are better, and they're at Arrowhead. And the Bills have I don't know who the pressure is on more, but I think the Bills have a more likely chance of, if it starts slipping away, to panic. And I don't think the Chiefs will do that. I think the Bills are going to have to play a really sound, fundamental, not perfect, but close to mistake-free game at Arrowhead. And I think they can do it. I don't think they will do it. I've got Chiefs winning 24-20. I think the Bills will have 4 scoring drives. The difference will be, I think both teams have 4 scoring drives. I think the difference is red zone. Chiefs find a way to get into the end zone 3 times. The Bills get it in 2 times. And then the 2 field goals for Bass. Maybe he misses one along the way. I don't know. But 24-20, the Chiefs do cover. But I've got the under as well. We've all got the under except
you guys
Nick.
are probably right. Yeah.
No, I like it. Because if there was a time for them to unleash the offense, it would be Sunday.
It's this time.
People are healthy.
It's this time.
If they play man-to-man, you got Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, and I think
they're going to do their best again to take away Travis Kelce. We watched that game last night. They're replaying of 2020. He just ate against the Bills.
Yeah, I think Andy Reid's going to open the bag. I think all of the things that they have had excitement about with Worthy and Hollywood Brown, I think Sunday is when they deploy it. And so, even as I say that, they only have 4 scoring drives. So nice job, dummy. So there you go. We'll see what happens on Sunday. We'll take a timeout, wrap up the show next. All right, that'll do it. It's the program coming up next. They will continue to break down this game, Chiefs and Bills. Longer press conferences. We don't have time for full cuts, but Dylan said we do have one cut that he would like to play before. So it's not a bunch of paper cuts. It's one cut.
I do. It's a prediction from the Philadelphia Mayor in the game this weekend. Here it is.
Oh, yes.
E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles!
Had you not heard that?
No, what?
The Elgses. Go Elgses.
Elgses.
E-L-G-S-E-S.
E-L-G.
She's the mayor.
E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!